And this rainy, what's today? Thursday. Mo na takog Tuesday.
Thursday. Mo na gitawag na to
Thursday.
karong buntaga as Valentine's Eve.
Balentong si
Nangutana ko nila kung number 1, nakapalit na bubog mga rosas.
Okay.
Number
Dun,
2,
dun, dun.
naka-reserve na ba mo og kaning mga lamisa sa restaurant?
Okay.
And
Tanatan.
or number 3, nakapalit na bubog ticket sa Arnel Pineda Journey to Tops Live.
Murag super important yun ng number 3, no?
Yun, unya pag human aligri kayo eksaba ni ato aran niya.
Okay.
Ato aran ni. Please,
Secret.
Don't tell anybody about this. Ang akong anak nga lalaki
Dun, dun, dun.
nangutana ganyang buntag.
Ayaw,
Ni
spoil.
text ganyang buntag. Eksaba di lagi sa kabaw.
I don't listen to this.
Nobody
This is fine.
nobody listens to us. It's
Yeah.
just you and me and maybe like
A couple few people.
and maybe people downstairs.
Of course. Top of the morning
Oh.
to our staff here at
Yeah,
Tops na
yes.
minaw nato no sa entrance.
So nakalimot ko sa iyang pangalan si Maria Dolores, siguro to ang mga
Wow.
gwapa ug mga gwapa diya sa silong
Kanang
ato-
sa entrance.
sa entrance atong mga security nga nindot yung ilang mga pahiyom, ilang mga
Yes,
smile and all of
super,
that stuff.
super.
So grabe kayo ka importante mo na nga nay musugat nimo
Yes.
o mag-smile.
To start your day.
Yeah.
And what better way also to start your day by with or with? How did you say it? By or with? What's the correct grammar?
I have no idea.
Okay, but okay, it would be great to start your day by sniffing fresh flowers. So I want to
Sniffing fresh
Kana.
fresh
I want to
flowers.
have a quick shout out to those at the flower shop. I ran into them, the mga
Okay.
miss sa flower shop. I didn't get their name,
Okay.
but the mga miss sa flower shop, they listen to us daw often. Na ada sila yung mga i-request nga song.
Unsa
So,
mga
send
unsa
your
mga-
requests.
unsa mga kanta. Okay, ang ato ang text number 0962 742.
Mm.
That's 0962. Let me repeat that one more time. Balik sa 0962 746 3537 kung naamoy mga ipang text.
Yeah.
And speaking of mga buwak, ato arang gisekreto na to.
Okay, okay.
Ang akong anak nga lalaki, nangutana, kaning pwede ko tabangan niyo og pa-reserve og buwak. unya bak si iyang igsoon ang iyang igsoon nga babae, ang akong daughter, niingon siya bag orgay ko nakabasang ang presyo kuno sa buwak sa carbon kay ni doble.
Hala. That's smart.
Mauman tan among sikreto nga mamalit big buwak sa carbon
Yeah.
nga barato kayo.
Yeah.
Pag human inig tabok lag pila ka kilometro mat double or triple ang presyo.
That's true.
Grabe gyud kayo sa tanan.
Nya karon imo namang gi-expose imong secret.
Wa-
Kana
wa-
mo atos carbon
wala,
karon.
wala man gyud maminaw na to. Good. Mo nang nakanindot ani, mo nang
Yeah.
nakahinom jud ko giingon one of my all-time favorite talk show hosts, si David Letterman. Ingon siya when he started his talk show Late Night with David Letterman, he said, I am at my best when nobody's listening.
Nya saan mo na?
Oh, mo na nga kung ganahan ka nga mamaayo ta paminawon kan kibaw gitang why na minaw nato.
Yeah, or just pretend siguro nga wala na minaw na lang. Murag ka nang don't be so conscious about it ba?
Yes.
Yung Salmang, we're always asking our listeners to join us on the chats. That's
wala,
Tops Media Center
wala
on
na.
YouTube.
Ato
Sa atong live stream pag sa Facebook.
ato
Nya,
ra-
malipay man sa tamang comment sila.
Ato ra ng mga delusyon. Wala gyud na sila naminaw. Dili magin na sila mo text og 0962746357. So
So how will they know?
Unsa na to
Na.
baghibaw nga natay mga atik paminaw, di ba?
Yeah,
ang
exactly.
ang assumption gyud na is zero, wa gyud na minaw, na rin minaw. Ang atong gwapo ang ambungan nga security guard o katong mga nasa atubangan sa tickets. At atong una man Justin, ang radio dili makapaminaw sa TMC 105.1 kay batig yung kaig signal.
That's right.
Karon nagibalhin na nato ang ato ang unsay tawag ang transmitter ang atong towers actually nganhi sa ibabaw 2,000 feet closer to heaven na unsa purti na yung klaruhan nato.
Yeah, and not only in closer provinces, diba, even in cities outside of
Tagbilaran,
Cebu.
Dumaguete.
Top of the morning to everyone listening from outside of Cebu.
Moog yun.
Thank you
Sus,
for
my
joining
goodness.
us.
Ang akong kuyawan Justin kung
Unsa man?
kung ang Ginoo makadungog nato. Saon na lang na.
Unsa na ka, no?
Usahay ra ba ang atong mga
Duol ra ba ta sa heaven?
ang atong mga kanta mura mga bagsik ra ba ni? Saon na lang tani.
O gato mga comments sa sahay, no?
Murag dili ra ba maayo
Murag
sa
ginad-
Lord.
ipa-judge siguro tani.
Sorry lang Lord ha. Okay. Anyway, kanang buntaga is a very special morning because like I said, it is Valentine's Eve, right?
Valentom si.
And also today, actually, another secret, don't tell anybody about this, si Arnel Pineda, moabot rong adlaw.
Today?
Karong buntaga,
After all this? guys. Oh my
After
God.
all these years, right?
Yes, what about the siya diri? For real, he's
so-
coming here.
So nitugpa na siguro siya sa syudad sa Sugbo karong mga segundo ha.
So the search is on, guys.
The search is on.
I'm sure his fans are like kanang
Yes.
nagtanaw, nag-stalk siya sa social media, asa ka ni siya ni bisita
nag-stalk-
ron, no?
Nag-stalk na sila
Mm.
sa arrival ni Arnel
Arnel
Pineda. Nya
Pineda.
kanang airport man good. Kaning, di ba?
mm.
Daghan man kayo nagtao, di ba?
Mm.
Nindot kayo yung airport. Exciting kayo na kasi one of the things that I do here is
Oh my God, that's so
m-
exciting.
ako'y tigsugat sa mga banda, sa mga artista, sa mga songer,
Ah.
sa mga artists. Kunya, kanang ang feeling ni mo na bitaw, I know nga it's not a big deal, but
No, it is a big deal.
no, what I mean by not a big deal, kanang maabot ka ba, pero lahi yun ang maski imuha lang driver o imuhang especially
Yeah.
if sugaton ka sa imong pamilya.
Someone's waiting for
Oh,
you.
lahi yung feeling sa nga you feel welcome ba
Ah.
butangan day og kaning what do you call those welcome roses or
Like a lei.
welcome lay flowers and all of that stuff. So I hope nga Arnel Pineda feels right at home
Yeah, despite this very
here in
rainy
Cebu. Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, so good morning to you Arnel Pineda
Ooh.
and the rest of
We welcome you with open arms.
Yes.
Hey, come on, see what I did
we
there.
are forever yours faithfully. Yeah.
Love it.
And I hope your driver will not be a bad driver, so he will not be
Unsa man?
arrested by the foolish, by the foolish heart.
By the foolish heart.
12 minutes after 10. Justin, unsa ba ang atuang latest traffic report diha?
Right, so I've
Ang
got
atong mga gwapo sad ug mga gwapa nga kaigsunan sa Revo. Speaking of Revo, si Josh Narvios nakita nako kaganiha. Naghuwat-huwat sa gate sa Sibudok.
Yeah.
Na ako to siya kaning gamay nga negosyo kuno nga murag apilan. So take ko na ta ani Justin. Unsa man ni iyang negosyo kay I think it's
Right.
important nga people know about this because these are life-saving devices that
Yes.
he's trying to help promote. Unsa man ni siya Justin? Tell us please.
Yeah, so guys, starting today, I think until the end of the week,
Okay.
at Cebu Doctors University, my brother has his business called JN Solutions. You can check that out on Facebook. Again, that's JN Solutions. So he sells rather life-saving equipment. So everything from first aid equipment, medical. How would you say this? Medical. What are this? What are these? Medical. These are not tools. So he sells. Now, let me. You know what? Let me.
Life-saving devices, right?
Life-saving devices or
Like-
anything
like-
that has to do with survival.
Like coffee and
Well, let me search it up
sugar
para-
and cell phones.
Let me search it up para
Just
mas
kidding.
ano gid ako ang accurate.
Kani man gud
Okay.
so that they'll know what we're talking about so we can set the stage. Kani man gud si Josh is
Yeah.
part of Revo, right?
Yeah.
Kaning Revo emergency rescue man ni sila kaning kung naa man gali emergency sila gini sila ang mga gitawag nga tog first responders, right? Nanay sila ambulansa, nanay sila yung mga medical equipment, mga stretcher, mga defibrillator, and etc. etc. So kung naamoy mga emergency diyan, anyo ang tawgon atong mga mga gwapang kaigsunan sa Revo.
That's right.
Unya si Josh nagtudlo sa ni siya for people, for students especially to know how to do it themselves. Kay lahi man sana
First aid.
kung maghuwat pa ta og naay mga first aiders nga moabot, di ba? Mas maayo gyud kung kita nilang sa para sometimes magud time is of the essence. Unya pag human ko naay medical emergency, niya walay kibaw ninyo og kaning let's just say CPR or any
Basic first aid.
basic first aid, kuyaw kayo. So, muna nga importante kayo nga makat-on mo og nasad mo yung mga equipment
Yeah.
nga
that's
magamit
number one.
ninyo sa inyong balay. Kung mag-anda man ta og kaning mga butang para sa, let's just say, para sa para sa inyong auto, kani mga tools, maganda po tag tools para sa inyong kasing-kasing,
I
para sa
love
inyong
that.
para sa inyong kalawasan, di ba?
Yeah.
So, unsa man ni siya Justin? Tell everybody about JN Enterprises.
Yeah, so at JN Solutions.
Solutions at
yeah.
Enterprises.
So JN Solutions on Facebook, guys. Basically, we aim to provide emergency responders, safety professionals, enthusiasts, and civilians with top-tier solutions needed for action. So services including, we also sell ambulance or interior cabinet setups, sirens or blinker setups.
Maligya mong ambulance? Did you say ambulance?
Interior. ambulance interior or cabinet setups,
no?
no?
Na biya ko na Justin nga kung palit ko ambulance kung malate ko ba.
Why not?
For example, padung na ko
Ay, paita, gamiton dahil mo ang siren for
padung na ko kalate ni mag-ambulance lang ko, di ba?
para madali ka.
Na ako'y pangutanan ni mo Justin ha.
Yeah.
Mga ni silent ha, sulti ko tinoda.
Okay.
Kana bang ambulance ba? Dili mo ginamakit ani mo ang di ba? Kaning mura man medyo usahay na ipintal.
Sometimes it's curtain, it's covered
dili,
na
dili,
curtains.
dili jud ka kita sa sud.
Yeah.
What if naghuwat lang ni ang driver nga makapalit og init nga pan? Unya
So gamito ng ambulance.
Mali na siya lo. Alas 6 ra sa buntag ang init nga pan dito sa kuan Pandi Manila pag human kaning malate nako magpakusog siya iyang ipaandarang
Oh my
siren.
goodness.
Unsaon pakibaw nako be.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So
Unsaon
somehow
man, be?
these ambulance professionals have to maintain that kanang sense of, I don't know what's the word, integrity nga. They don't abuse it bitaw nga gamiton ra ang siren para madali. So actually sa Revo we're very keen about that.
Okay.
They always specify that no, and they're particular about discipline nga. Dili na nimo gamiton imuhang mga sirens, mga blinkers, if not for emergency purposes. Kay that's abusing. It's abusing said no your
but there's no way of us to know that,
Mao
right?
gyud, exactly.
Pero unsa man na nga
So mao na as a responder.
unsa man ang klaseng violation, for example nga ikaw malate ka. Malate na kasi imong klase. Dad, kanang ambulance lang nabi.
Ano na, you can't do that yun. I don't know.
Sagali, unsa man ang klase nga violation na nabi?
I'm not sure about like the traffic violation. I'm sure ang mga Revo or my brother specifically can really educate us more on that. But on our end na lang, on like the values our organization holds dear, we're very much against that. You know, like the responders are particular about that. Na di mi mo abuse ana kay number one, no one will ever know. Only we will know, but we don't feel like it's right to do that.
Of course not. But
No,
like everything else in life, naman gyud tendency to abuse,
Oh, yeah.
right? So
Oh, yeah.
that's why there are guardrails for us to make sure that the
Di na to
abuse
ibuhaton.
is prevented, di ba? So unsa ka na nga mga tana ka ta na
The guardrails.
ni Papa Jim sa or Papa Jim ba Tito Jim, Uncle Jim?
Yeah, my Uncle Jim. Unsay guardrail? Yeah, I wonder unsa
Yeah,
ka na lang
unsa
mga
ka?
guardrails,
Bitaw.
especially sa states,
Oh.
no, na banay mga balaod ana nga
Oh.
bawal mo. Because I'm sure naman may balaod here.
Nah,
I just don't know
I'm
which
sure.
specific ones
Yeah.
nga di ka pwede mapataka ra og kanang on sa imong siren.
Bitaw kung ihion kay ko ba?
Yeah.
Di ba kay ihion kay ustanan
Or-
traffic kay ustanan.
Labi
Diba?
na tomorrow kaning
Or maybe-
Valentine's Day, magdali kasi imong
Oh,
reservation.
reservations, di ba?
Nya
Diba?
tanan kanang nag-rush hour na.
Mo nang nagunahon ako, palit lang ka ko ambulance para dili ko malate. Pero kana sang
Pwede na po.
kanang skill set sa driving lisod sa nasa kanang
Yeah.
ambulance driving murag
They have a different kanang
mura man
license man sa
Oh.
for that for ambulance
murag
drivers.
Fast and Furious school of driving gyud sa diha ka mo
Fast and Furious.
driving school.
Yeah, lahi pod na ilahang specification,
Okay.
specialization rather for that.
Okay, so anyway, continue JN
Oh, yeah.
JNN
Going back,
Solutions.
so
Okay,
for
unsa
JN
gani
Solutions-
iyang mga gipang push?
Yeah, so they have a wide range of products and services including ambulance interior or cabinet setups,
Okay.
siren or blinker setups, metalwork or welding fabrication, Motorola two-way radios, automated external defibrillators or AEDs, medical or trauma bags and vests, tactical gear, everyday carry gear, tools and rigs, and rescue apparatus. So all of these guys, usually sa online shop raman ni siya, we do deliveries and such and meetups also for JN Solutions. But my brother has a physical store or a physical setup at Cebu Doctors University today until the end of the week.
Okay.
So na siya little stall. Kaya naman sila murag baligya today, murag changi-changi inside the school. So he'll have his shop.
Mamaligya sila og mangkatong iyang gipang hisgot.
Yes, all of these things.
Na sila
Mo na nagdala to, if you saw him this morning, daghan kito siya stocks gidala.
mo
And
yung
it's
mga
different
bigya.
naman gyud when you, I mean, it's also nice to just message the page JN Solutions on Facebook.
Okay.
Nya pwede naman gyud ka mo order diha, pero lahi naman gyud nang makakita ka
Mo
in
gyud.
person good.
Oh, pwede demo ni Josh, di ba?
Yes, exactly. There's that.
Nasa ko'y pangutan ng lain ba? Mga ni silent ta Justin ha? Kaning kana bang defibrillator ba? Mamaligya mo na dili.
Yes, we do.
So na mo ibili ang defibrillator. For example ba? For example bitaw kaning inyuhang relasyon ba kanang murag medyo padung na og kapawong bitaw. Kanang murag dili na kay mo in love bitaw niya. Especially for example ang other party ba, for example in love kay kastanan ang babae for example dili na in love nimo. Pwede na matabang na defibrillator.
Murag, di man na mada.
Pwede na i-resuscitate ang heart sa babae para ma-in love ni magbalik.
Murag,
Pwede ba nang inana?
sadly, murag dili man na
Na-
ang
na-
purpose good ani, murag di na magamit.
Dili na magamit eh.
Pero you can test it out. I'm also suggesting to all the students nga murag naluya o murag na zombie na sa school, no? Perhaps we can try this.
Oh
Murag,
my God.
kung dili mo work ang 8 cups of coffee a day, so why yun daw ni natong defibrillator? Oh, syaro dita magsigag mata, magkurog sa klase ba?
Unsa?
Several uses of the defibrillator,
Yes.
guys.
So make sure you drop by the exhibit. Asa gani siyang exhibit or event nga naa si Josh?
Yeah, so make sure you drop by JN Solutions. So that's going to be a physical shop or a mini pop-up store at Cebu Doctors University
Okay.
today until the end of the week. And if you guys can't drop by and you'd like to make pre-orders or see what other services or everyday carry, rescue apparatus they have in store, whether you're an enthusiast, a responder, or you're just interested in that, you'd like to equip yourself with that. So you can message JN Solutions on Facebook. Once again, that's J as in what's Juliet and N as
Jiggy?
in
As in
a
Jiggy?
Jiggy and N as in
Narvios?
Narvios. The JN Solutions on Facebook. And yeah, check out what they got.
Okay, and it is now 21 minutes after 10 o'clock with the Jiggy Juice.
And Justine Narvios.
You're listening to Top of the Morning. Maing bungkag sa kanatong tanan. Here's the latest traffic report and weather updates in and around Cebu. Go right ahead, Miss Narvios, ma'am.
Okay, so we have from the CCTA or the Cebu City Transportation Office this coming Valentine's Day, Balintums Day tomorrow.
Balintums.
Cebu City Mayor Raymond Alvin N. Garcia.
Raymond.
Yeah, shout out. Announced a free Valentine's concert
Oh my
held
God, really?
at Cebu City Sports Center or CCSC on February 14, Friday. So with this, there will be a temporary road closure along the route,
Okay.
which will be implemented on or before 3 p.m. in the following area. So again, note guys, we're going to have a temporary road closure at Osmeña Boulevard from the corner of R. London Street up to P. Del Rosario Street. So traffic signs and enforcers will be deployed to assist the public. Motorists are advised to take alternative routes to avoid delays. Your cooperation is essential for the success of this event.
Asa gini dapita ang iyahang event? Asa
So
nga?
this
Sa
is gonna
Cebu
be at the
City
Cebu City Sports Center.
Sa Abiliana din niya.
O sa Abiliana. Pero
Okay.
na ay mga traffic road, temporary road closures that will be implemented on or before 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Kinsa may mga artist ani, kinsa may mga singer ani
Right.
mo
So
perform.
tomorrow, performing, we have Sweet Notes.
Oh.
That's gonna be a band. I'm not sure if there are other performers as well. Pero so far, nakita na ko ang Sweet Notes
Sweet
are
Note.
performing
Okay,
tomorrow. So yeah, guys.
Is this like a free event?
It is a free event.
Okay,
It's a
alright.
free Balintum concert.
Balintung's concert.
Right.
Okay.
It's gonna be a free Balintum concert. So,
dito mo
watch out for that.
Mag-date mo dito sa sa Cebu City Sports Center, di ba?
Yeah.
Uh,
Mag-date mo dito, mo enjoy some music,
Yeah.
and if you're tired afterwards or if you want to explore afterwards, and you can definitely go around Colon, so it's perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Mag-walking around Colon. I remember doing that a long time ago. Katong
Unsa man?
nabatay
Sinulog?
na merkado sa Colon. There was a time ang gipangsiradaan ang mga daan diha dapita sa Vision kanang mga the old streets of Cebu pa niya. Maglakaw-lakaw ta sa Cebu. Oh,
Lingaw man good at night.
Nindot kayo ang
Yeah.
nindot jud kayo ang feeling to be able to walk the oldest street in the
Though you said it was
Philippines,
a myth, but I'd like to believe it's still the oldest
Well,
street.
well,
One of the oldest na lang,
one
not
of-
the first.
One of the oldest. So,
Oh.
nindot kayo nga feeling. So yeah. That,
What do you do man before? Maglakaw-lakaw ka? What?
wala man.
Palit ka sa mga changi-changi, ana?
Mora mag na changi-changi. Mora bag pina merkado-merkado ba nga na mga
Kainan.
baligya mga prutas, baligya mga pagkaon,
Barbecue.
mora bag pinasugbo merkado
I
bitaw
love
nga,
that.
makakaon ka.
Kaon naman good ako,
Oh,
ano?
yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. But I'd also like to have a PSA to everyone, no? I always notice after bitaw mag-public market sa Carbon, Acolon, kay moagi manggid ko there for school, grabe kahugaw
Oh my
after. Like once they keep all the stalls, ang mga plastic, oh my goodness, like it's everywhere. So guys, if you're planning to do your Balintum dates and you're gonna go out and go sa mga merkado, sa mga public markets,
Yes.
please do not forget to throw your garbage at
Properly, yeah.
properly, no?
Yeah.
Segregate and then find designated spots kay kung asa gyud na ilabay lang na ibilin everywhere
Mo
kay
gyud.
I know, as much as we want to enjoy our time, we also want to, keep the streets
But,
clean.
I have faith in the Cebuano nga dili man na sila pataglabay good.
Well,
Dili maguna sila inana good Justin good.
Exactly.
Kana sila
I do have faith.
kita nga magunahuna man tan dili lang sa ato ang kaugalingon but also sa atong mga kaigsuunan nga kung hugaw kaayo ang dan daghan kayo naggilad nga mahitabo. Number 1, gilad kay tanawon in the first
That's
place,
number
right?
one.
Number 2, kanang mga plastic o mga hugaw masaag na sila sa kanal sa mga drainage
Exactly.
system.
So,
Ang
ang
ma-stuck up,
magbaha.
ang magbahag sa mut.
Number 2.
Ang ikatulo pag yun natay mga kaigsuunan nga naa sa mga lain-lain nga lugar, lain-lain nga nasod nga mobisita na to mga
Exactly.
turista nya makakita sila nga gawa di aning Cebu.
Exactly.
Dili I'm sure ang atong mga kaigsuunan dili makaako, they cannot afford, they cannot mura og envision a dirty Cebu. I'm
Yeah.
sure nga ilagi nang ilabay og tarong ang ilahang mga sagbot. Kung wala mo'y nakitaan pa nga basurahan, isud sa bulsa good.
Kana.
Isud lang
Bring
sa
it home.
isud sa bulsa niya.
Yeah.
Syarog di mo makakita og
It's a little
basurahan.
bit of a sacrifice, to be honest.
Dili na sacrifice kibok nga dili na sacrifice Justin.
Mm.
Kay ang imuhang gibuhat nga maanindot makabenepisyo masag ka. Ikaw man say maka number 1 limpyo imuhang pangapaligid, right? So that's not a sacrifice. That's actually your job. Okay,
Okay.
that's
I
your
like that
job.
mindset.
That's your job
So
to
instead of considering it as something like that you have to do, kay murag it's a stretch for you.
Yeah.
Consider it as like a service to yourself
to
and
yourself.
to others
Yeah,
na
yeah,
lang.
yeah,
Oh.
correct. Yeah.
So yeah, a reminder to everyone
Yeah.
this Valentine's Day kay maglaag-laag
Yeah.
man gid ta.
So muna ang
Let's keep clean.
traffic advisory.
Right.
So we not only gave them traffic advisory, we also gave them cleanliness advisory,
Yeah.
right? Kay
We
mo
also-
magid na ang mga Cebuano ba ganahan makatanga mo
Mao gyud.
asinso ta. So unsaon man nato pag asinso nga dili man kita maka sikaso sa ato ang paligid. Anyway, continue Justin. Sorry to
No
interrupt you.
problem,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine. These are really important, man said
Yeah.
no? So let's look at our national news headlines.
Yes, please.
Let's look at Inquirer.net.
Inquirer.net. Yeah, okay.
Inquirer.net.
Go ahead.
So first news headline, first news headline,
Okay.
PNP, number of election gun ban violators now reaching 846. The CAAP recruits students for air traffic management.
Mhm.
Customs brokers group appeals for lifting of suspended accreditation. NBI cases versus VP Duterte won't affect impeachment flow, according to Escudero. Over 1,200 LGUs embrace automation for better transactions. No leader, institution, or office shall be above the law, according to Romualdez. 5 senatorial bets are consistent violators of campaign material rules, according to Comelec. The CHR also mentions that this information probe will refine ethical concerns. And last but not least, PCG, China's largest research ship, seen near Babuyan Island coastline. So if you notice, guys, a lot of these headlines are quite abbreviated lang, short lang for easy for us to digest. Now let's see local
Mga gitawag na to og
headlines.
news bits.
News
right?
bits, exactly.
Para ma-digest na to kay usay matuk-an ta kung atong basahon tanan, di ba? Nya
Yeah,
dili sa ta process actually to think about it, di mo? I mean like ang ato ang bandwidth man good as a human being.
Quite limited.
Papareha ra gud nag-computer good nga kung masubraan og data, masubraan og kaning files, mo kango gina sumusa nang utok kung imo nang patunlon pa absorbon sa daghan kaayo mga information mukango sad na so importante
Yeah.
kaayo nga tagaan lang mo na mo ginagmay
Mm.
mura mag logan mo ba at least ba you have an
Logan. What are we, animal?
yeah mo-
Wait, is laug only used for animals?
Yeah,
Di ba, mana?
yeah.
Kanang ilawg ang iro, ana?
Ilaw pwede ra gud nagta sa
Laug
tawag
ang baboy?
kay importante sad kaayo siguro nga mag-practice ka og information diet kay kana
Oh,
kana
that's nice.
mong information good lagi like I said mura siya og mura sa nagpagkaon ba nga kung mapuno nagmaayo di na masudlan og bag usab
Mm.
inigbuntag sayo ang among bahato ni Justin tagaan na mo gamay di ba
News bits.
news bits lang para inig trabaho ninyo inig whatever it is that you do you have more energy and
Exactly.
more space in your mind to be able to process information. So sa pa mga
Yeah.
balita ding lain na Justin mga national man na puro silang padayon lang.
Yeah, most of these are national.
Kanang mga wala pa ni balik-balik kadaghanan sa mga balita pare-pareha man sa each and every national daily, right? What's up may mga balita diya?
Right, so we have another national headline
Go ahead, go ahead.
from ABS-CBN News. So
Okay.
it says the Agriculture Department weighs in on 20 pesos per kilogram rice aspiration as prices ease.
Okay.
AI firms or
Ay! Ay!
Ay!
Oh.
Artificial intelligence firms seen absorbing part of property glut from Pogo exit.
What does that mean?
That's a
Seen
thing.
absorbing property glut.
Glut
Okay, what is
from
a
Pogo exit.
what is a
That's the thing. Whenever
Ah!
these
kanang property glut I think is kanang mga pogo operations nag-operate na sila and then they're renting spaces, right? Kung daghan kay sila sa tanan, maybe there's the kind of a mura og daghan kay mga empty siguro nga mga office spaces, right? Is that what it's talking about? Maybe, right?
yeah, I have to check in or
Yes,
read
please. Yes, please. Please
kanang
continue. Please
each
continue.
ano good to be
Go
sure,
ahead.
no?
Go ahead, continue.
So now media members call on the government, so COMELEC, to ensure safe media coverage of 2025 polls.
Okay.
Marcos Jr. takes jabs at Duterte in pitch for admin's senatorial bets. PH eyeing joint sales with Italy, France, and the UK. And we also have Taiwan detects 62 Chinese aircrafts as U.S. ships transits waters. So those are our national headlines. A couple of them from ABS-CBN News, Inquirer.net. Again, as we mentioned, news bits siya pardi kaya tama overwhelmed with these news. And then when we mention these headlines, if some of them pique your interest, you can do yourselves a favor and then search them online. At least makakahibaw na mo kaning a specific news headline. That's something interesting to me. You know,
Okay.
you're a little bit hopefully more knowledgeable and more aware this morning.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the Pag-asa 24-hour public weather forecast. This is from 5 a.m. Of today, February 13th.
Sige,
Shear
sa
line affecting extreme northern Luzon. The ITCZ or the Intertropical Convergence Zone affects Mindanao. These are our forecasted weather conditions in Batanes and Babuyan Islands. The weather conditions are cloudy skies with scattered rains and isolated thunderstorm caused by shear line, and the impacts of this would be possible flash floods or landslides due to the moderate to at times heavy rains. Now, for areas such as Caraga, Davao Region, Camiguin, Misamis Oriental, Bukidnon, the weather conditions are cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms caused by the ITCZ. For the impacts, we have possible flash floods or landslides due to moderate to or at times heavy rains. Now, for the areas in Visayas, we have Bicol Region and Romblon. Weather conditions are cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms caused by the easterlies. Impacts of such are possible flash floods or landslides again. For areas in Metro Manila and the rest of the country, we have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms caused by the easterlies, and the impacts of such are possible flash floods or landslides during severe thunderstorms. So those so far are our traffic naman, our weather updates, no? Let's see. Yeah, from Revo Cebu chapter. Thank you so much.
Maayong bugkang kang RJ sa Kanduman, RJ of Kanduman na siya request nga sani Max Surban kuno.
Kana.
Audi by Max Surban or Pakaslan.
Audi. Okay, we got the songs for you guys. And don't be afraid to send in some song suggestion or song requests, guys. You can message us. We're live on YouTube right now. That's Tops Media Center on YouTube. Or you can join us on our Facebook page, Tops Media Center. Na-upload me live stream dito. Or pwede lagi ka mo message or text the number
0962. Hapin na ko na memorize. Gamay na lang ko.
Gamay na lang, gamay na lang.
Pila na lang kabalik-balik. Mang kanapo na lang. 0962-746-3537. Here is your request now, RJ of Kanduman. This one is Max Surban, Audi on 105.1 TMC.
The best of us.
Sa imong pagtuwan na
from Max Sorban to Justine Narvios.
So, ang gagamit sa mo ka ng Iraq, Iraq, kung ka ng CRAC kanang issue, rule, analysis, and conclusion.
It's called alak here. So like when you answer, it's answer and then legal basis and then I forgot what the A is. Like an example maybe and then conclusion. something
Now we
like that.
kanang like for example like the key phrases like for us it's you say the issue. So we say kanang whether like say
Whether or not
like we say for example you read the question be like whether the contract was valid
that one.
based so that's how you state the issue, right? For us the rule we have a keyword that's under. So under contracts law it states blah 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 blah.
Mm.
And then the analysis we use the word here. So here, comma, you explain the
Oh, I like that lagi. Wait, so what's it called? Wait lang.
Iraq.
Ours is different, but
But I mean it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing,
But it's
and-
just called different things.
no, but if you sometimes those are important because they have no time to freaking read so much of your words. So if you state it right like that, they would have Iraq, right?
Oh no, like the test grader, they grading so many
Exactly.
tests. So all they're looking for are the keywords.
What's R in Iraq?
Rule.
Rule. Okay, then A.
So put next to I. I is issue,
Mm.
and then the keyword for us is weather.
Mm.
WHETHER, weather.
Okay.
And then R is rule, and then the keyword to introduce the rule is under. So you say under contracts law,
Yes. Under this provision.
penal law, under da, 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 da. And then analysis is here. A is analysis, and here. So here is you explain the situation in your problem. So here,
Or in this
Sarah-
particular case.
Sarah and Jiggy got into a contract
blah,
because
blah.
there was a mutual understanding and mutual assent. There was an offer, consideration, and then conclusion. And conclusion is therefore.
Keyword therefore.
Mhm.
Yeah, this would save a lot of time. to
Yeah,
be
once
honest.
I learned that formula, I just practiced it so much that in everything I walk around and be like, whether the sun is going to come out and it will prevent me from shooting a music video.
Even
I'm like,
Simon.
under the supposed weather conditions.
Conditions, it mentions that it would come.
I've
out
already
and then,
practiced by, and then what happens is before I even answer the question, I just
I'll do
start
that.
laying it out.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I was like, student, okay, that's mo film did it.
Yeah, no problem.
And later, yeah, I'll just but, we think film did it. Oh, sa interview. Just whenever
Yeah.
Salamat,
He's free to just come in and out if ever. Sunod lang, kuya.
behind the scenes ka lang sa
So, I'll become, no?
Mag-interview
My bad.
ako.
Okay, perfect.
Pwede ka magka-tripod may interview and then ikaw mo yung level behind the scenes. Tripod ka para sa interview. So, how y'all been? How you been, Jiggy?
Good. Thanks for asking. What have you? I thought you were going home already, man. Are you
Yeah,
overstaying?
di ba karon?
Dude, I'm just gonna buy a spot and start living here. My
Wait,
wife
no, balik na lang mo.
is starting to get on me. She's like, "What are you doing?"
She's probably, ngano dugay
Give me
kayo?
no, give me
Ngano
no,
dugay
no.
kayo mo, ha?
I miss her too, but I'm glad I extended though.
Oh, but she'll be spending Valentine's Day alone there.
I know.
No.
But every day is Valentine's. She married me.
exactly,
every day is
exactly.
Valentine's.
That's true.
I'm such a romantic.
But so when are you staying here? Until when are
Until
you
this
staying
week.
here? Only this week?
Yeah, the
Oh.
20th I go back.
Okay. What's this Saturday? Uncle, we should meet out with the family. It's just wait.
I'd love to. Yeah.
What is Saturday?
Did you guys get in touch with a bunch that we met last time in Pavement? No.
Dude, yeah, they've like all become my best friends.
Yeah, because
Like Cookies and I've been hanging out all the time, and like Dice is shooting music videos for me now.
yeah.
I'm like, man, Jiggy, you're like the connector. you know?
Yeah, because I feel like there has to be an ongoing conversation. The moment the conversation stops is the moment that you get scared, right?
Right.
So, just keep on talking about it, and then sometimes something comes out of that conversation. Sometimes just the beauty of and the fun of having a conversation with like-minded people. Right?
Yes.
Because that's where collaboration gets in, right?
Right. And the correct type of collaboration.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just like an
Focus lang,
yeah,
diba?
yeah, like this person.
Nigo gino ba, di ba?
Yeah, it's
You have a kind of relationship.
Yeah. It's not like it's a kind of strategic partnership. It's more like an
Yeah. Correct.
I'm meeting up with
How's
him today.
how's Cookie's
He's
condition?
doing better. Yeah.
Okay. Is he
It's
better now?
slowly but surely. Yeah, but he's starting to record music. He's got shows coming up in March.
Yeah.
Wow.
The last time I spoke to him during our meeting, during our interview here, his mouth is still like
Yeah,
stuck.
he's it's still like that a little bit, but he's definitely
Better now.
Yeah, his spirits are up. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think it would really help if you're extremely stressed. It will also manifest in your physical symptoms.
Oh, yeah.
So then, a big chunk of his healing comes from like having to relax. And hopefully, making music will do that too.
Right.
So I'm excited for you guys to work together. When is your album releasing?
So I decide things have changed since my last time. Number one, I'm
Things
not
have
dropping
changed.
a 50-track album. I'm
Okay.
dropping an 11-track album.
Awesome. What happened? Why?
So it's because I thought about it. You know, I talk to people that respect their opinions, and
What they say.
it's not like it's just like it's just too much. Like they're like people's attention span. They're not gonna listen to you. They're gonna get mad because you're just over inundating them with too much, right? And so I'm dropping a first album. I'm rolling out. So I have like a book that I've written down like 1,000 people that I've connected with throughout these years. And these people have supported me. They bought my album. They went to my shows. Connection, I know their families. It's over 20 years. And so I'm dropping a first album called Story of My Life. It's
105.1 TMC.
Urban
Urban
Dubbin
Dubbin.
Sailing. Atong takna karon 49 minutos ng labay sa alas 10. You're listening to Top of the Morning. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice.
And my name is Justine Arbios. Hey guys.
Good morning, Justine.
Good morning. Top of the morning,
and
everyone.
live and in the flesh, ladies and
Woohoo!
gentlemen, Rocco Steady.
Hey.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, sir. How's everything?
Welcome back.
Welcome
Am I
back.
hot? Is it on?
Yes,
Yep.
it is
It's on
on. Yeah,
right
can you
now.
hear
Can you hear
yourself?
yourself?
How about that?
I can hear myself now.
Good,
yeah.
good. Nothing is better than the sound of your own voice, right?
Self-love, y'all.
Maing bungkag ni mo diya, sir. Kamusta?
Oh, Mayo ikaw.
How's everything? How's it been? How many days have you spent here in
Oh,
these beautiful islands?
It's almost been 2 months now.
Wow, my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
2 months. And this is your first time to stay in Cebu, in the Philippines, for this long, or no?
No. I'm used to it. Yeah, I'm used to staying. Whenever I was younger, I used to stay here for like 3 months at a time.
Okay.
Because we have 3 months for summer vacation before. So
Ooh.
I used to just stay and like, just get real comfortable and make a life and make a home for 3 months.
Oh wow! So tell me about your experience so far. You're based in Houston, right?
Yes,
Am I
yes.
correct? You're
Yeah.
you're a Houston-based lawyer, and now you're here in Cebu. You were here before the Sinulog, and I think during the Sinulog, and
Yes.
now you're still here on our way to Valentine's Day. Tell us about the experience of being a Filipino who was born and raised in the United States and now is back here in Cebu. Tell us about how that feels.
It feels good, At the moment that I'm in life right now, it was necessary for me to be able to reflect. And so, like, for the last 8 years of my life, I've been, doing different things, extremely busy, building. Didn't really have much time to like stop and smell the roses. And coming back to Cebu allowed me to reflect. I had expectations coming here. I was like, I'm going to knock out these projects and I'm going to do the X, Y, Z. But things totally went a different direction. It went in a better direction. And I attribute it to people like you who connected me with people. I was able to develop relationships and meet people, learn different things. And I've definitely been in the moment over here. And I've been able to smell the roses and really appreciate and celebrate the accomplishments that I've had over the years. It's like an arrival. It allowed me
Wow.
to arrive at the moment and
Yeah.
be like, wow, it's amazing.
And tell me about the good detour, so to speak, that your trip in Cebu has made instead of going to a certain direction, because you said you have certain expectations, like we all have,
Yeah.
in traveling and in being in another place. Tell me about maybe one of the good things, or many of the good things that has transpired in this trip.
I was reminded of the things that made me happy that were priceless. So like walking around. It's been a while since I've done my 10,000
Yeah.
steps, and I'm a big fan of that. I like listening to my podcast, listening to music,
Okay.
doing my 10,000 steps. I've been able to do that. I've lost 15 pounds. Hey,
Oh, wow, really now?
yeah. Even despite the fact that I'm eating good food out here, and,
Okay.
yeah, and enjoying that. And so I'm reminded of the things that make me happy, such as taking a step back and being able to connect with family, have genuine conversations, and just allowing myself to have a social life. Man, I was working so much that I didn't have much of a social life. In fact, whenever I got back to the social life, quote unquote, I was like, do I even know how to like be social anymore? Because it's like when you're working and you've just been stuck in the introverted like work mode, you kind of forget how to like mingle and have that conversation. But I've been able to plug back in, and I'm right back to where I was. I've always been a social person. Yeah.
But you kind of became
A caveman.
a caveman for almost a decade, but now you're out of the cave, right?
Yeah.
So does the world look different to you? And what things would you rather that they stayed the same during, before you became a caveman? Are there things in life now that you'd rather stay the same instead of where they are now?
No, I think it's exactly where it needs to be. I've returned back. It's like more of a returning back
Okay.
to the essence of things. In fact, before I became a caveman, I as an artist, I didn't listen to any other music but my own.
Yeah,
Right, and
yeah.
so it was selfish as me as an artist because I
Yeah.
was so hyper focused in being, an artist and successful as an artist, and I listened to my own music. And so now I'm actually a fan. I am genuinely a fan of being able to listen to music and hear the stories of
Yeah.
other artists.
Yeah.
That's something that's new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I didn't have for a long time. But I remember when I was younger, I would open up the CDs and smell the books inside and read it and
Be a fan
yeah,
again,
be
right?
a fan again. It's nice to be a fan again. It's nice to actually not have the pressures of just being an artist all the time. And it's now I get to be inspired and learn from the different people that I meet, the different people that I listen to,
Yeah.
and really just learn their story. Artists are cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we wanted to talk about here today, Jim, or Rocco Steady, I should say. I don't know, man. Should I call you Jim now? Because I'm going to try to ask you to wear the other hat that you're wearing, which is your lawyer hat, right?
Yeah.
You're a very successful lawyer who's practicing law in Houston in the United States. Is what part of Houston is this, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so Houston has different suburbs.
Yeah.
Our office is located in Sugarland,
Sugarland. Wow, interesting name.
land of the Tamis.
I can imagine the cases, the incidence of diabetes there. I'm just kidding. So I wanted you to for us today. Where did Justine go? Because
she'll be back.
she's part of this conversation. I would like to make sure that she's here, but I wanted us to talk about because the Philippines, out of all the things that we've learned from our colonial masters, the Philippines actually adopted the U.S. Constitution as part of our sort of operating system as a society, right? That's why if you look at the Asia, we are the most Americanized Asian country, right? In Asia, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of that has to do with number one being one of the colonies of the United States back then when we were colonized, and we were rescued, quote unquote, from our Spanish colonial masters, right?
Right.
Who was with us for over 300 years, and we adopted the United States Constitution. That's why we have similar laws and
Culture,
our
yeah.
societies developed similarly. So I want to be able to talk about that fact, number one, and number two, unsa magyoy diferensya, like how different and how similar are we as societies? Because if you observe the United States as far as politics goes, as far as religion goes, as far as the way society functions in the United States, I see a lot of similarities. I see a lot of similarities. It's like, hey, wait a minute, we had that here. It's happening the same way here. I want to get to your take on that. First and foremost, I think let's start from the very beginning. The Constitution, right? We adopted the American Constitution. Of course, we've revised it all through the years, but in essence, it's still similar, if not the same. So, tell us about that, attorney or Rocco. Like, how do you feel about that, and how it has affected Philippine society and American society?
So, first and foremost, I just want to preface it that I'm not an expert
Of course not.
in
Yeah.
constitutional
Yeah,
law
yeah.
or Filipino law, but I can only speak from the perspective of my experiences and my observations. And I think that it is a great thing that, you know, the Philippines has a lot of the qualities that Americans have. I think that America is a wonderful place. I'm very proud to be an American and to have that opportunity that my parents have provided me with. But I think one of the things is despite the fact that we have a culture that's similar, we still have yet to assimilate fully into the culture that has been provided, because you know you have to take a look at what we stand on. It's the foundation, right? It was imposed onto us. So it's something that's not clearly ours is going to have some sort of instability, right? And like there's things to catch up on because it's systemic, right? You have a systemic situation where the Constitution, the culture was imposed because of, you know, the historical colonization, yeah, all of that kind of thing. And you know, with colonization comes the hot and the cold, the yin to the yang, right? So you have good things, but you also have painful things, and that painful thing, you know, that can manifest itself into like self-hatred and like, you know, image issues and, you know, these dichotomic type of things where people are, you know, skewed in the way that they think. And so I'd like to present like maybe two different things, right? The first thing is, you know, we have a freedom of speech in the Constitution, a freedom of religion.
When you
right?
say we, you mean the United States?
The United States.
The United
yeah,
States,
yeah.
yeah.
That's one of
Because you're big with freedom of speech, right? And-
freedom of religion, freedom of press,
Yeah.
all these different constitutional
Yeah.
rights that we have,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And I don't know how the Philippines has kind of modified those.
We are still a society that values those, but for some reason it is not as fervent. It is not as we don't value it. I would say
Right.
Practice it.
as much as American society, because there's still a lot of people who would rather you not speak
Right. Say
speak
anything
the
at all.
unspeakable.
Right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right. Not everyone's jiggy juice. No, so that's really why I wanted to point that out,
Yeah.
is because I'm a big believer in promoting the values of being prangkaba. Like,
Okay.
like I think that
Being honest.
communication and honest and bold and unapologetic
You
communication.
you mean democracy, right?
Yeah, I mean
the
just
values of democracy.
yeah, the value.
Yeah.
I mean, just specifically communication
Yeah.
and freedom of expression,
Yeah.
right? Freedom of speech, because I think that despite the fact that there might be a freedom of speech, is there really a freedom of
Correct.
speech?
That's a good question.
With like cancel culture,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
how are you free whenever you're walking on eggshells
Yeah.
because a whole community or industry might shut you down and
Yeah.
prevent you from your livelihood?
Maybe you can start there, Rocco. Tell us about how much United States society values freedom of speech now, here and now, because I think that has evolved of
Yes.
late, right?
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about that. How does American society value freedom of speech? Tell me about that.
Well, like it's like, think about your favorite dessert. Think
Okay.
about your favorite food.
Okay.
If you're so accustomed to eating your favorite, and then all of a sudden they take it away from you because there's repercussions and consequences, then you value it even more. The time that you do have with it, you're going to relish it. You're going to be appreciative of the moments that you're able to express yourself. And the things that are different nowadays is because as society has evolved as an American culture, the evolution of
Freedom of speech.
social media,
Yeah.
it's the means and the vehicles of having communication and expressing yourself. I think that is what created specific things, because people are now keyboard warriors. People are, you know, very opinionated behind their computer screens, and then there's all oppressed for a long time. And whenever you've been suppressed and oppressed for a long time, when you finally have a support system and a community that is thriving, then you're going going to do everything you can possibly do in order to protect your community, and that involves your opinions of what you have towards a specific culture or community. And that is why cancel culture is so prevalent in America, because of the fact that it's systemic situations of oppression and the desire to protect that. I understand why there is cancel culture, because certain thoughts and beliefs can bring you back to a place where you're pressing the reset button and the progression of certain communities are no longer. You have to protect that, because it's like they've dealt with a lot of
would you
issues.
say Attorney Rocco Steady? How about that? Attorney Rocco.
That's perfect.
How about
Remix,
It's a
that?
mix of
remix,
both. It's a
remix.
remix.
So would you say that American culture is not as passionate about freedom of speech as much as they were, let's just say, a decade ago?
I think they're more passionate.
More passionate.
Now.
Because, like I
Yeah.
said, like if you take away someone's lechon and they love lechon, magpassionate pa rin sila.
Okay,
Yeah, they'll get passionate.
I'm asking you that question because you mentioned cancel culture, right? Cancel culture is a kind of restriction. It's a kind of censorship, right? It's a kind of banning
Yeah.
an idea or a person or maybe even a word, right? How is cancel culture affecting your freedoms of speech?
Yeah.
Mine personally,
In the
in general.
American society.
well, it's making people hesitate.
Okay.
And I'm a firm believer that whenever you suppress, you suppress your ability to express, you become depressed.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
These things, I think that I think people need to be mindful
Okay.
and demur about the way that they communicate and the people that they affect, because words are powerful.
Okay.
And I think that words can be painful and words can inflict and stimulate hate. But words, on the other hand, can also stimulate, empower and encourage and uplift. And that's where the gray area is, right? So I think that the cancel culture has impacted people because they're now hesitant to communicate, even just in general. They're afraid to communicate because they think twice, like, oh,
What if?
what if, like,
What if I- what
you
I
know,
say
what if
will
I
offend
upset?
someone?
Is there a
yeah.
distinction between walking on eggshells and being mindful? Because sometimes
There is.
Where do we draw the
so
line?
what do you say when you say mindful? Be mindful of what you say, and
Yeah.
where do you draw the line when somebody is just scared of expressing himself because he
Right,
doesn't want to
right.
insult anybody or whatever?
Right. So I think mindfulness comes from a level of educating yourself,
Okay.
and being sensitive, culturally sensitive towards other people, having empathy, being able to step in other people's shoes, and then coming from the place of having an intention of not like offending somebody, but more so like you're speaking your mind, but you're coming from a place that has meat. You're
Yeah.
not just making generalized statements
Yeah.
because you at the moment feel some type of way.
But isn't it kind of difficult to be able to communicate and consider everybody's feelings? Because
You can't please everyone.
because
Of course,
number
yeah.
one, you probably don't know everything about everyone, right?
No,
So
nobody does,
when you
yeah.
utter those sincere words, it might offend a few, and
It always will, yeah.
If you're scared of offending, if you're scared of insulting somebody, you might as well not open your mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it is kind of a tricky thing to do, right?
It is definitely true.
okay.
But it's
And so-
it's
so-
the
so-
knowledge of self.
Yeah.
Like knowing yourself and knowing what your beliefs are and why you believe what you believe, and having, instead of walking on eggshells, having the courage to scramble the egg.
Oh, that's good.
Instead of
Having
walking-
the courage to scramble the egg.
Yeah,
Right.
but having the what does that mean?
So like,
when you, for
well, I'm
example,
just making a metaphor. Of the
Yeah, I know.
eggshells.
I know.
right? Yeah.
I kind of don't get the metaphor. So when you go inside a room, for example,
Mm-hmm.
like 100 people, right, and you want to make sure that you make sure that you don't insult anybody, every single one of them, right? So that's you're being mindful of what you say, right? But it's almost impossible for you to know every single one of them, right?
Right,
So
right,
so
right.
how do you communicate then without feeling like you're censored, you're being weighed down because
Right,
you're scared
right.
of you insulting that one person
right,
in the
right.
room? How does that work?
Well, it's not about what you say; it's
Okay.
how you say it.
Okay.
Right. So it's like I said, the intention behind the way that you communicate.
Okay.
that's being mindful. How are
Okay.
you communicating your message?
So
Because I think everybody can relate to somebody that's
maybe you can
expressing
give us a clear
message.
example.
Okay.
Give us a clear example of that scenario. You're in a room.
Okay.
You have an idea that you'd like to announce. Maybe you have a great idea to make a better society, for example, whatever. And then there's 100 people in the room, and
Right.
you want to make sure that you consider everybody's feelings. So you want to make sure that you don't insult anyone. How will that work? Is that even possible?
Well, number one, you cannot
Okay.
guarantee that you won't offend somebody.
Okay.
You will offend somebody. But an example of how I would communicate, like for example, I have a clear belief that you should be transparent and upfront in the way that you communicate. Talk about the difficult things,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And so instead of saying, y'all need to, here's scenario number one.
Mhm.
Y'all need to be upfront because y'all are just being quiet, and being quiet ain't gonna get you nowhere. So that's scenario number one.
Mhm.
Scenario number two, the way that I would do it, and I would beg to say that it's the mindful way of doing it, is I would say, how many of y'all have experienced relationships either with your family or with your friends where you don't meet at the same level as far as there's a misunderstanding, but we're not talking about things, and then those relationships suffer. How many of y'all experienced that? Yeah, just introduce the question and then say, well, I think it's important for us to consider the opportunity for us to be able to be transparent, because we can't go through life and live with regret if that person passes away and we don't say sorry, and we don't tell them, hey, this bothered me. Maybe there's a solution in that communication that will mend broken relationships.
Okay.
So it's like a different style,
Different
of
approach.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
same
Yeah.
message, right?
Same message.
Same message, just different way of
Yeah.
communicating
Yeah.
that.
Yes, yes.
And I noticed how in that second scenario, number one, you're being more empathetic. You're not just focusing on what you gotta say. Now you have to get your point across, regardless if anyone listens to it.
Right.
Rather, you're starting it off with a question, really trying to engage, the people listening to you, asking them,
Right.
nakasabot ba mo ani, ka-relate ba mo ani?
Right,
So it
right,
becomes
right.
more personal in that sense.
Yeah.
And secondly, aside from it becoming personal, you're introducing somewhat a solution, but not necessarily jabbing it down people's
Right,
throats.
right, right.
So I think that's the responsibility that comes with freedom of speech. As much as it is a right that we want to have,
Right.
it's also this responsibility that we must what's the word, like comply with, or like take care of.
Yeah,
rather,
yeah,
no?
nurture it.
Nurture
yeah,
rather
yeah.
nga murag, because you have that platform, especially now with the prevalence of social media, kaya naa naman tayo platform to say what we want and say what we feel is right. Kaya
Yeah.
there's also that responsibility
Right.
in the manner in which we say
Deliver it, yeah.
in the way that we deliver it.
Right, right.
Okay? So I like that he mentioned also.
In case you're wondering what we're talking about here, we're talking about the differences between Philippine and U.S. society. We have American Filipino top-notch lawyer who
Yeah.
actually also ran for office. He actually ran for mayor, right?
Yeah.
Of
Stanford,
of
Stanford, Texas.
Stanford, Texas.
Stanford, Texas. Yeah.
So we're talking about the main differences of U.S. and Philippine society with attorney Rocco
Rocco
Steady, Jim Narvios, okay? For
So
those of you na,
cool.
kung naamoy mga pangutana, kung naamoy ikadalit sa atong programa, just join us at Tops Media Center on YouTube, on Facebook at Tops Media Center, on Jiggy Juice. I-comment lang kung naamoy mga pangutana
Yeah.
diri ni attorney Jim Narvios or Rocco Steady. Whatever hat that he wants to wear, but I think he's in the attorney hat today. So attorney
For today.
Attorney Rocco. So ang akong feeling ba sa imuhang delivery ba, sa imuhang same message ba, especially now in this age of the internet nga mura og lisod kaayo i-communicate because you're competing with a lot of voices,
Yes.
right? There's so many voices, and everybody
Yeah.
has a kind of platform. Everybody's being platformed
Yeah.
by Mark Zuckerberg and everybody else on the social media platforms. Nga akong pangutana now, Jim, is if your purpose is to make a little change and a little dent in society, if you have to over explain, if you have to be empathetic, if you have to think about everybody's feelings, it's not going to work because it's not powerful, it's not
Right.
strong enough, it's not
Right.
forceful enough.
There's
Bundak,
So dili siya pinabunda ka ba? The first way of communicating was very powerful, right?
Yeah.
It'll
Gets people's attention,
it'll
straightforward.
it'll probably insult a few, but it'll move other people to action, right? The other one is so soft. it might not be able to inspire people. So you know what I mean? Because I think one of the purposes of speech is to inspire people, right? And mura ninon tag hadlok ba? Mura na tag dili na ta a rebel. You know what a rebel is, right? He
Right,
just
right.
imposes on whatever he wants to happen, and hopefully the thing that he wants to happen happens, right? Because it has a little force in it, right? So don't you think that American society is in many ways mura sila they're walking on eggshells. Like they're scared to be canceled. They're scared to say the right things, right? Because they want to make sure that they don't offend a lot of people, right?
Right, right.
How do you feel about that?
Well,
That-
I mean,
that feeling.
I would compare it
Okay.
to people being afraid to put out pictures of themselves that are natural, right? We want to appear like we're perfect and
yeah,
excuse me,
yeah.
perfect and curated and filtered and that kind of thing. And whenever we're afraid to show up in an authentic way, then it's reflective in the way that we communicate.
Okay.
So it's like one of those things where, yes, you can be bundak and you can be transparent, but if you're wanting to make a dent in society, you're wanting to make a change in society, I realize that the biggest changes in our society, thank you so much, the biggest changes in our society happens behind closed doors. It involves strategy. It involves good conversation.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Because if you're just out there like beating your chest and yelling, then you're opening yourself up to hurdles that are going to be placed in front of you, a target behind your back, and it makes your journey towards your goal of change and impacting some sort of effect on society difficult. And so there's the time and a place for that to like razzle people like mundak siya, hala. And then all of a sudden then that creates stimulation, but there should be a game plan after that. If you're really trying to do it, then you really have to plan it. And I think that revolutions happen behind closed doors and it involves strategy.
Yeah.
Revolutions happen behind closed doors. Wow.
Basta, I think what attorney's trying to say ba is the perils of being someone nga all bark no bite. Bitawan.
No, but he has bite. But what I'm saying is, it's just
There's gotta be strategy behind everything.
Sometimes, Magod, like especially with social media. Social media is an outrage machine, right? Like it loves the outrageous, right? And people now, because
right.
we're so numbed because of social media that nothing ever shocks us anymore. So you need to up the ante, so to speak.
Right.
Just to get
Get
their
people's
just
attention.
to get their attention.
Right,
You gotta be extreme, and then all of a sudden then they're moved to action, and then again maybe that's also part of the strategy. For example, I'll give you an example. Donald Trump. Donald Trump, you're president in the United States. He's like an outrage machine, right? Whatever he says, people are like, he's saying that again,
People are-
and sometimes he's just trying to
Get attention.
get attention.
Man, I
Initially.
have a really unique personal
Perspective.
personal perspective
Yeah,
on that.
yeah,
and I'll bring it up later.
Yeah, he doesn't. Initially we felt like he was just saying it because he doesn't think about it, or he's just like
He's tactless,
brain
whatever.
vomiting. But there is a kind of method now.
It's a rhyme and a reason, yeah.
I understand now. We understand now how he communicates. He says extreme things because he wants to accomplish
Headlines.
something somewhere in the middle, right? In the same way that you were speaking there in front of 100 people, saying the extreme thing and saying the empathetic thing, because if you say something radical and then people are outraged, but at least they're talking about it,
Right.
You know what I mean? And then
Promotion.
you're provoking them, so to speak, right? And I think could it be that Trump's way of communicating is actually
Strategic.
there is a kind of good thing that comes from that way of communicating. If your goal is to get things done, if your goal is to build better societies, could it be?
Well, I mean, the thing is Donald Trump was in the WWF acting the same character. He's trained. He has the money, the resources to be able to have the best communicators, the best press, the best public relations managers, the best team around him that will suggest the necessary things in order for him to be able to create headlines. And in order to be in office, you have to create headlines. You have to
Yeah.
create some sort of stimulation as far as more people will know you, more people will talk about you, and the statistics will lead you into the presidency. Now, as far as the way that he's communicating and the way that he handles business, there's a reason that he is in office, and there's a reason that he was successful in other things that he's done. As far as his position and his responsibility, I think that there with power comes great responsibility.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
And so at the no, it's definitely
true,
it's
true.
definitely
But
true.
it is-
There's a lot of people hurting in
it
America
is true,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like at the end of the day, if you develop some sort of opportunity for yourself because you have an amazing team and you've stimulated the conversation, and once you end up in the office, then I think that that what needs to happen is there needs to be some sort of adjustment. I mean, that's what my perspective is. There needs to be adjustment, because what happens is that you're impacting people's lives because they're not accustomed to a person that's going to be in position where they're just speaking. What worked to get you in office is not necessarily going to
same.
work the same to run a country. You know what I mean? But I'm not an expert in that political realm as far as the way that he runs his presidency. He is our president, and the way that things are being done. I haven't experienced it long enough to have an opinion about it, but I do understand.
Well, he had a first term of 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of have experience of
I do.
the Donald, right?
Yeah, I do, but I
yeah.
do understand that behind the Donald or behind the Biden,
Okay.
behind the Bush,
Okay.
behind everything, there's
Behind the bush.
yeah, it's Homer Simpson behind the bush. Yeah, so there's a machine,
Okay.
and there's people,
Yeah.
and there's people that have agendas, and there's
Yeah.
people that have itineraries, and I understand that it's not just him. You know, it's not as much as he's bold and unapologetically himself, and is a character. There's people behind him. There's people that are behind closed doors, starting their own revolution, and there's agendas that need to be met.
Donald Trump, the phenomenon that is Donald Trump, looks like he's unique. But if you look at the world, if you look at Philippine society,
Right.
there are Donald Trump tendencies. There are people who are just like him in many ways,
Yes.
right? And the way they communicate and the way they stir up the imagination of the electorate or the population, right? They're using the same things, not just here in the Philippines, but all over the world, right?
Right.
So I'm curious, is it because the world is always keeping a close eye on the United States or American society? That's why everybody is kind of following suit? Or is there something, you mentioned something bigger? It's not just them. There's like a machine. Is there like a bigger machine that is at work here? Is there like an unseen force that's
Behind.
that's allowing the world to develop in the same way? Is it the economy? Is it what?
I mean, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't know who's having the conversations at the table, or who's meeting at the table. You know, if it's just like, us, we're in the music industry. We meet up with cookies and dice, and we all have a
What's up, guys?
what's up, guys? We all have a hangout session. We have a good time.
Yeah.
We're having a few drinks. You know, the powerful in the world, they have drinks too. And they have conversations, and they have the power, the resources, and the money and position to be able to stimulate the direction of the world.
When you say the powerful,
Yeah.
usually people usually refer to powerful as the wealthy.
Yes,
the group of people that has the most resources, right? So you're saying that these people could possibly be like hanging out just like we did at Pavement and talking about stuff. And
Absolutely.
Random
If I was one of them, I'd be hanging out too.
so who might this be? I know this is very conspiratorial thinking,
Yeah.
right? It's almost encroaching that line already.
Yes,
but,
yes.
But do you think? And who are these people, if ever? Like,
If ever.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's the people that you don't know about. It's
Okay.
not the ones that you think you know, right?
Okay.
You think you know the wealthy. There's people that run entire industries. You know, you think that there's separate industries as far as the nutritional industry, the brands that you see, but they own all of those brands.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like they're competing, but
Okay.
they own all those brands. The people that run the world are the people that have been doing it for decades.
Okay,
Decades.
now I'm curious. Now I'm intrigued. When you say run the world, I mean, I thought we had
Yes.
presidents or prime ministers or leaders or kings or monarchs, whatever, who run their specific countries. There is a group that is running the world. Is that
Right,
what,
right. So you
is,
have,
that, is that what you're saying?
So running the world is like this. You have different sectors.
Okay.
You have the political sector.
Mhm.
You have the religious sectors.
Mm-hmm.
You have the food industry.
Mhm.
You have the banking industry.
Fuel, maybe.
Healthcare.
Fuel industry.
Uh-huh.
These are the things that every insurance industry.
Mhm.
These are the powerhouse industries that are required in our society to live in the comforts that we have, right? And so it's in a big like kind of network of things, and families have ran these different industries because it's like, you know, you started it from back in the days. You're going to hand it down. You're going to protect it, and you're going to continue to you're a staple there. You know,
Okay.
like it's like any kind of company, right? Your family started it, so you're going to continue that legacy.
Mhm.
And so that's what I mean by running the world. It's not like some fee fi fo fum running the world type of situation.
Okay.
It's more like, hey, these people are known to have the dominance in this industry, and these people are known to have a dominance in this industry. And then what they do is one industry can benefit another industry, and it's a reciprocal process. Just like if, you know, I was like, hey, Jiggy, I want to do a collaboration with this person. Can we make that happen? It's because we know each other, and because that collaboration can possibly strategically promote both people in a reciprocal type of fashion, and both entities will benefit.
Okay.
You know, from a business
so
and that kind of standpoint.
So these people that are running specific industries. Let's just say, for example, the drug industry. Let's
Pharmaceutical.
pharmaceutical
Uh-huh.
industry. Let's talk about that.
Mhm.
Are you saying that they're meeting in some obscure room somewhere so secret and all of that stuff, and they're talking about how they can even improve their already dominant
Industry.
dominant hold on the world as far as pharmaceuticals
Yeah.
is concerned? Do you think that they're up to no good? That these people are trying to take advantage of the world and make money off of the
Right,
world and
right.
all of that stuff, or are they trying to organize themselves and coordinate and cooperate amongst each other, among pharmaceutical giants, so that we have a better world? Like, what force do you think is the
right.
strongest?
So-
Up to no good, or are we trying to make the world a better place?
Great question, Jiggy. As always, amazing questions. So, I believe that everybody has a good and bad. You know, like there's no concrete way to say whether they're up to no good or whether they're up to, you know, world peace and like wanting to be philanthropists, right? So at the end of the day, I don't know. I never sat in the room. They could be at Starbucks for all I know. They could be meeting at Bo's Coffee. They could be amongst us, and we're there. They look like regular. They look like people, right? So I don't know if they're in some dungeon and some like, you know, high lockdown facility and castle, you know, in the sky. No, I don't know how they're meeting or what they're meeting about. All I know is that it's natural for us to birds of a feather flock together, and I think that conversations are had with similar people in similar situations to benefit, you know, their business. And I think that, to answer your question, I think that they have to have these conversations even if they are a powerhouse, because how do you maintain your position in an industry? There's always somebody that's going to, you know, try to, you know, compete with you and take over. And then you have to have those conversations and continuously sharpen and strengthen and adapt with the times and have those conversations in any industry. This isn't just these powerhouse families. This is like small businesses. This is artists. This is anybody that's involved in some sort of industry. They have to have these conversations. And I think some of the most successful people are the ones that diversify. And for example, a musician that's having conversations with the coffee industry and doing open mics at all the coffee shops, you know, like not just having conversations amongst the other musicians, but having conversations with like physicians and, you know, making custom songs for babies, like pediatrics where they're having babies. Oh, I'm making custom songs to, you know, that stimulate the minds of children.
So
and
so they're
promote
sitting down in that
intellect.
room and they're trying to become even a bigger behemoth than what they really are. Whether they're up to no good or they're up to world peace, we don't know.
Right.
But doesn't American society, doesn't Philippine society or whatever society have any guardrails for or from these giants to stop
Overstep
to
or abuse.
control their power, because you know the more they cooperate, the more they merge into
Right.
one big organism, the more monopolistic the society
Right.
is, and so they're in control of everything. And what happens to society is we are beholden to these powers, which is already happening now, right? Doesn't American society have guardrails? Because I know that capitalism and democracy are like hand in hand, right? But doesn't American society have like a kind of protection from these giants? Like we have giants now, like Facebook, for example, is a giant. Like Elon Musk and Tesla is a giant, right?
Right.
And all of these characters. So wala ba yung mga protections sa society nga to stop people from becoming too powerful because they have all the resources?
Right. So there are protections, but there's also people that they are connected to and hire that understand these laws that protect. You know, so there's loopholes, there's ways to go around it and to tactfully dance around the gray area for you to be able to avoid consequence in those particular types of actions that you've chosen, because we have a capitalistic society, and you are protected in these specific UCC laws and
FCCs, yeah.
and unfair competition laws. These are in place,
Yeah.
but there are ways to get around that. You know, as an attorney, you know, we're trained to be able to find structure and systems within the law in order for people to be able to navigate in a way that's legal. You know, whether it's creating companies and structuring your company in a specific type of way, that's what attorneys do. You know, attorneys are in place for those particular methods. And as far as society as a whole, I mean, that's a whole nother book to unpack right there. You know, I mean, different people, all different types of walks of life, and not everyone is thinking about these particular things. They're just trying to survive.
Is it
you know?
good for society to have the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Elon Musks of the world? Is
Giants.
it good for society to have somebody to dominate a particular industry?
Well, I mean, without them, we wouldn't have the things that we enjoy that benefit us. And like I said, there's a hot to a cold to a yin to a yang, right? So there is a bad to a Facebook. There's a good to a Facebook, depending on the person. That's going to be the benefit and the detriment to the person, right?
Okay.
So without the Mark Zuckerbergs or the Elon Musk or the people that have innovated these particular industries and dominated it, right? Because they are innovators and people that have started it. And, you know, at the end of the day, they're contributing to society. You know, people are able to communicate with each other easier. People are able to promote their businesses.
Well, maybe it's not that as extreme as not having a Mark Zuckerberg or an Elon Musk. It is probably a society that doesn't know them by name because they're not so dominant. They're not so powerful. There will still be people like them, but we don't know their names because
Right,
they're not that dominant. They're not monopolizing a certain area.
Or maybe
of
they
of
are
society.
dominant and
We
they
just don't
don't
know.
want to be known, right?
Yeah, but
The
what,
incognito are always the most powerful.
you think so? Okay.
Definitely know. So yeah,
Okay, so do you think there are more powerful people than these people that we're mentioning?
for sure,
Really?
for sure.
So who are these people?
I mean-
are they the Jews? I don't know, man. Like there's a lot. Of
I mean, there's and like I said, I don't know these people.
okay.
I don't know them by name. All I know is that there are that we don't know what we don't know. And at the end of the day, behind a powerful person is always going to be another powerful person that has put them in place or connected with them in some sort of way to continue putting them in place.
In case you're wondering what we're talking about, this is Authority Rocco Steady live at 105.1 TMC. We're making a comparison here because I'm surrounded by lawyers here, 3 lawyers and 1 idiot. The attorney Rocco Steady, future attorney
Patay.
Justine Narvios,
Patay.
and of course attorney
That's Mark. He's
Attorney Mark, yeah. So we're comparing U.S. and Philippine society. Kibaw ka ang atong mga frustrations diri sa siyudad sa Sugbo ba and maybe even the Philippines is really about we have the right laws but we don't
Implementation.
implement it. We don't enforce it.
Or it's not enforced well enough,
Properly,
effectively enough.
You're a top-notch lawyer, a successful lawyer in Houston. Tell me about that problem. Do you have an enforcement problem there too in the United States, similar to the Philippines? Nga natin dakang balaod pero dili ta maka-function properly because we don't enforce them properly. How is the enforcement of the laws in the United States?
I mean, we have a justice system, whether it's a criminal one or a civil one.
Okay.
And everybody has the due process and the right to go through it.
Okay.
Now, as far as enforcement is concerned, there's many different variables. Once again, you have to consider the fact that human beings are running the justice system, whether it's civil or criminally. And so human beings are flawed, whether or not it's people that are. That's why it's so important to vote for people and do research and vet the people that are getting into the offices and people that are able to make these decisions that impact the justice system and whether or not they're being enforced. That's number one. And there's the different variety of people that are within that system as well. Now, as far as enforcement is concerned, I think that we have the opportunity, we have that system in place of due process to be able to allow us, but not everyone has the resources or the opportunity to do that. And so it's not a completely fair or equitable situation in our society because people can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, like if you get arrested and you're not from a family or your economic situation, you can't afford an attorney, you're going to be appointed one. And we're lucky in the United States that we have the opportunity to serve the indigent community and have free representation. But then with free representation, what are the implications that come with that?
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, are they going to do a great job because they might have too many cases? There's different variables that'll impact.
Will affect.
Oh yeah, and then they're hired by the state. You don't know what kind of pressures they may have as a DA, as a person that's appointed counsel for somebody. And then as far as everything else, like somebody that has been scammed out. Like for example, somebody gets scammed for $200,000. They're trying to sue the person that scammed them. It's a civil situation. You just lost $200,000. How are you going to hire a lawyer?
Yeah.
And lawyers are not cheap, And so at the end of the day, not everyone has the resources to provide that opportunity to be able to properly have their situation and the laws of the land enforced.
Okay. So the enforcement of law is also dependent on the resources that you have naturally, in
Naturally,
the process.
right? Naturally. And then I don't know how it works in different
Here,
countries,
yeah.
But there's also resources that can allow different opportunities as well. So I don't know.
Di ba ang purpose ng law is to protect the least of us, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? One of the purposes of law is to protect the least of us. Doesn't American society have resources for those that have none?
The least, the last, the lost.
So
Right.
they can be protected.
Just
Well,
as those who do.
I told you about the appointed attorneys. We do have resources. There are great initiatives that are in place to be able to help the least fortunate and people that are struggling. However, just the question that I have is how good of a
How
representation
effective is that?
are you going to get when somebody has to serve multiple clients and provide free
Like
services?
free legal advice,
Yeah.
right?
That-
Free legal
Yeah,
help,
yeah.
yeah.
Because honestly, I'm a firm believer that in order for you to get proper representation and somebody that's going to be zealously fighting and advocating for you, it either A, has to be somebody with the energy, the time,
Okay.
and the passion for it, and a lot of times those people get burnt out because
Yeah,
they, you know,
that's human nature.
because
as well.
they fight, and they get so frustrated, or it's somebody that's getting paid. If you're getting
The
paid,
cha-ching.
you're gonna fight.
That's the
Yeah.
motivation there.
Well, one of the perceptions that we have here from the outside looking in is that the United States is a very litigious society. That you get sued for anything there, versus the way we are here in the Philippines, because we don't get a lot of that. Is that true? Is the United States a very litigious society compared to most societies, and why do you think that is the case?
Oh, I definitely think that we are a litigious society. I believe that the reason we are a litigious society is because, similar to the type of business model that I have within our firm, my wife and I have the situation where we work on contingency because we're fighting against insurance companies. So in the civil litigation side of things, whenever you're fighting against an entity that has an insurance, or somebody that runs into you in a car accident, or somebody that, an elevator cuts your hand off, or unfortunate situation where you're injured and incapacitated because of that injury, they have insurance, and we have a heavy duty insurance industry in America.
What does that mean, heavy duty?
Heavy duty meaning there's requirements to have. You can't drive a car legally without having insurance. I believe here you can drive without insurance. At least somebody told me. I haven't looked into it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'd like to be educated on that. But we're required to have insurance in place and policies in place that are large enough to cover the property damage, B, the diminished value of that, and C, the injuries and pain and suffering that a person sustains within that accident. And then companies have to have insurance, because if you don't, what happens is you're held personally as an owner, and that can cripple your whole life
Yeah,
if something
exactly.
happens, right? So it's not only a requirement, but it's a
safety
safety measure that protects you and your livelihood. And that is why it's so litigious, is because in the event that there is a situation, people are less hesitant to pursue it because there are insurance in place to be able to accommodate. Now, there's still dichotomies and belief systems where people are like, I'm not going to sue because it's against my religion, or it's
My beliefs, my personal
like
beliefs.
gabaan ko ani,
Taking advantage.
I'm taking advantage. I don't want to hurt that other person. But I take the time out to educate the community and the public that you're not going after a person. You're going after an entity that's in place in the event that you are injured, so that way it can help you. Makatabang man na sa imo, ha.
So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
But why do you think, in the limited experience that you have here as far as the legal scene here in the Philippines, why do you think that the United States is a more litigious society versus the Philippines? Is there something about the laws in the United States that makes it so, or is it just culture? Is it like the culture of the Americans are just very litigious, and here in the Philippines we'd rather just brush it off and forget about it, whatever?
Well, I can't speak in regards
Yeah.
to the law because I don't know the law here.
Yeah, but in the United States,
In
yeah.
the United States, the laws there's a system. There's a due process
Okay.
system for the civil litigation.
well, it's kind of similar
process.
here in many ways.
But
we do have that.
but here's my question.
Okay.
Right? Is there insurance in place? Is there an abundance of resources as far as connected to individuals that are driving, individuals that own businesses, individuals like in society? Is it a common thing to have a protective measure that will support you in the event that an unfortunate situation occurs? That's number one. Number two, the question is whether or not the people. Oh, something slipped my mind. Okay, so American culture litigation.
In case you're-
Can they work? Can the attorneys here work on contingency? That's another business model that is also a reason why people are able to get attorneys over there, because attorneys will look at a case, examine the facts, examine the law, and say, look, this is a good case. I'm willing to take a risk on you. And if I get a certain amount, then I'm taking a percentage of this. That's our agreement.
you mean like a private attorney? You mean?
Yes, a private
Okay.
attorney for civil,
Yeah,
specifically
yeah.
civil. And so that is a business model that incentivizes attorneys and a legal system to be litigious, people to be litigious. And then also the promotion of it, right?
Okay.
From a cultural standpoint, the way that the legal system and attorneys promote themselves is they promote themselves with large verdicts. we won millions of dollars on this case, and we've settled for millions of dollars.
So it encourages.
I
And
see a
it's
lot of
billboards
billboards
everywhere, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
you're driving California or Las Vegas, you see a lot of billboards
Yes,
with
yes.
for lawyer. That doesn't happen here.
No, we don't have that.
Uh,
here.
I'm curious, Justine, is there like a law against because I know in the medical field you can't really advertise yourself as a doctor because that's part of their whatever their etiquette and what as a doctor. So you don't see billboards of doctors. But do you have laws against lawyers promoting themselves in the same way that they can promote the lawyers like in billboards in the United States?
Based on my very limited knowledge on basic legal ethics,
Okay.
I think we touched on that somehow on like the level of humility that people in this profession must have,
Okay.
and that entails also the way that they promote themselves.
So you can't
so-
promote yourself?
You can, but I think
Not in billboards?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the manner in which you do it must be like it must have a sense of, number one, it must be honest.
Mm.
So you can't promote yourself in such a way that's like directly lying or just to get clout or just to catch people's attention.
Mm.
Like you can't, for example, like promote your firm and really throw in some fancy schmancy words and say that even if it's not exactly true.
Mhm.
No, like kanang, this is the best law firm. We're the ones with this number of
Puff-
cases and that
puffery,
and that.
puff-
But that, but
Yeah,
that, but
buffering.
that's.
But if it's fact, the question is,
that's
are you-
that's actually advertising etiquette. That's not
Yeah.
a law etiquette. You have to be honest with your billboards. But but is a lawyer allowed to have a billboard of himself, like an image of himself and a phone number, and just say Attorney Justine Narvios, and that's it? No fancy schmancy.
I don't think there are laws in place that prohibit that. I
Okay.
don't think it's
Because
prohibited
doctors can't do that.
to promote their services.
Yeah, like that.
way, no?
Did,
on ads.
did you ever see an image of the face of a doctor?
I don't think it's prohibited, but I also don't think it's encouraged because
Maybe it's just culture, right?
yeah. But what last I remember from legal ethics is it really has to do with it's something that's frowned upon. Like you're not supposed to like promote yourself that way. You know, like it because the main thing is that the idea is that being a lawyer and being part of the litigation process isn't just a business. And so when you promote it that way, when you're putting up billboards so much and you're putting up ads of like your firm, then you're gearing towards like the business side of letting people know this is a negosyo, so hire me. So
But isn't
so
it?
it
but
focuses on that.
it-
That's the idea behind it.
It is a business, right?
It is a business.
I mean, you spend so much money to
It is
educate,
a business.
to go
Hindi
to
mo
school
ma-deny.
and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
of course you got to recoup your investment, right?
Mabawi ni mo. I'm curious, Uncle Jim. But yes, Uncle Jim is he's my uncle.
Yeah,
so
okay,
it feels
okay.
weird to just call you Jim or Rocco Steady on
Okay,
here. I'll just call you Uncle Jim.
Attorney Rocco Tito Steady. Okay, anyway.
So I want to go back to what Jiggy mentioned earlier. He's talking about the enforcement of laws. Kaya
Yeah.
maumang gid na atong mga atong
Problema
problem
diri sa Cebu nga. So sa Amerika pa na dili ginabuhaton niya kay kaning dakpan sa
Dakpan siya dito.
diri sa Cebu
kay
makalusot raman.
Oh. So then one of the issues that Jiggy posed is that we have good laws in place here in the Philippines, specifically in Cebu, but the problem is the implementation of such, the enforcement of such. And when I think of enforcement, I always think of like police power. I always think of like how public safety and all of that, the state is inherently given that power to through police power, right? So, and I always notice ang difference sa Philippines and sa America ba, we don't really have the prevalence, or maybe it's not advertised so well, or maybe I'm just not aware of like police brutality. And I noticed over the years in the United States, that's a pressing issue.
Yes.
Like people are so vocal about that.
Yes.
Dili man kaina siya. Basin vocal po dili, no? Pero
I don't actually hear anything
you
about
don't,
that.
I don't know if it's just me.
Walain man
Ang-
EGK man diri kaning mga
extrajudicial killings.
lahi po
Oh.
diri pero
Which ang issue po ana is really sa due process
yeah,
still.
yeah.
Pero as far as police power and as far as kanang police brutality, what's it like there in the United States? For those who might not know about it diri sa Cebu. No, it would also help man
Yeah,
sad nga we
yeah.
would know what's
Right,
going on
right,
dito.
Yeah.
Why are people so pressed about that, and why has there been a
Right.
prevalence of that issue over the years?
Because revolutions happen behind closed doors. There's a specific individuals and groups of individuals in certain communities, primarily I would say the African American community, that there's a lot of influential people that are passionate about the rights of their community, right? And so I have friends in that community. We also have police brutality cases, but like shout out to Benjamin Crump and attorney B. Ivory Lamar. These people are people I look up to that I've connected with and had the fortunate opportunity to have conversations about this. But to answer your question, it's because it's become prevalent in the media.
Okay,
whenever
media,
you have,
that's number one.
well, number one, it starts behind closed doors. It starts in the conversations you have at the table, and people. It requires people to have strategy behind how they're going to hold accountability to those that are doing the wrong, right?
Okay.
Whether it's police brutality or it's something else that's been wrong, there has to be some sort of strategy behind exposure of it, right? And fortunately, the media has been able to showcase this because because now everyone has a phone.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's one of the things that has changed in our society of accountability, similar to what we were talking about earlier as cancel culture.
Right.
You can't just act any type of way anywhere you want to act because somebody could just pull out their phone and record you, and all of a sudden you're held accountable. And whenever you have that type of evidence, that increases and leverages your case, you know, and there's heavy consequences to it, you know, and people have died and lives have been changed and families have been ripped apart because of the fact that somebody decided to exert extra force without
Than
it
what's
that
needed.
that wasn't warranted, and it was excessive, and then the person died several times. And so the media has covered that,
Yeah.
and so now there's
So many movements.
so once there's a level of accountability through media, through the potential of litigation and the consequences of that, losing your position or perhaps being chastised in society.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that outrages the whole community, rightfully so, right? And so once that happens, I think the culture shifts. And accountability is held, and once there's accountability, it's very similar to, you know, getting leptos by chinelas. You know, you're gonna.
Great sound effect there.
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah. So
So is this a matter of media just exposing the police brutality, and there's always been police brutality,
Yeah.
or is it again another unseen hand here?
Yes, it's always been there. It's always been there since, you know, back in the day.
Okay.
And I think that now it's not just the media, but it's people having also the courage, because kind of when you see it more, you're willing to post more. You're willing to start having those conversations because it's no
It's a
longer
trending topic,
it's
man.
no longer something that's uncomfortable to have because now a lot of people are having those conversations.
It's normalized.
Plus we have 8 billion cell phones with cameras,
Exactly.
right? So it's easier
So
to
may
cover,
empower
right? It's easier to cover, so you can actually take videos of the actual police brutality
Exactly.
happening right in front of your very eyes. So I think a lot of that has to do with technology, right? And the way
As
we,
means for kanang recording
we're-
evidence
Right,
also
right.
nga.
the way
mas-
we're reporting things, right?
I think it was Will Smith during the onset of like there were a lot of these movements, especially pag pandemic, for police brutality, right? And like as you mentioned, when much force is exerted, that's like not needed. So I think it was Will Smith who said who reaffirmed what you just said. It's always been existing, and now it's just being recorded.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
like especially in the United States now, they're a very diverse society. Di man gud na siya kaayo. Although there's always been class division in any society, na magud na class division, but it's I think issues like that are also strongly linked to other issues like racism and the like. So when you're in a society that has different races kanang existing all at once, so that's more prevalent niya sa ato you know, maybe we're tribal but not necessarily like that. So
Well, in
I
many
don't think there's brutality towards a specific race man here.
yeah,
Di man na
our,
siya-
our tribalism is
Lahi man.
I think
Or
kind of different.
Economical, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also physical because I think we're separated by water, right? And
Anapod.
7,107
Islands
islands,
itself.
right?
Oh.
So our differences are actually similar to, you know, like a Latino versus a you know, like a Asian, for example, right? And an American, a Caucasian, for example. We're just separated by islands, so we think differently. You know, there are certain nuances of the culture that are also kind of different. So in many ways, we're similar because we're also diverse. We have, like, you know, mga Muslim, mga Filipino, mga taga Bohol, taga Ormoc, taga Mindanao, so taga Manila. In fact, when there's a kind of division between mga Tagalog, mga Bisaya, and all
Yeah,
of
and
that
there
stuff,
also
right?
have been cases, Mansad. I'm glad you pointed that out. There have been cases, Mansad, in the difference of the way that, for example, police power is enforced, for example, sa Mindanao,
Oh,
especially with religious wars sa Muslim,
Oh.
compared to here sa Cebu and
Yeah.
Visaya. So, but what makes me curious, aside from media, like what other factors make that so prevalent in the United States? Kawa magud na sa ato
Which
ang,
one?
Ang kanang police brutality.
Police brutality.
So aside from the fact that it's being more it's being recorded now. Although it's always been there.
It's always been there, yeah.
But like the empowerment behind it, or like the issue in itself, is so loud because of the way people have media now. What are other factors, Kaha?
I mean, another variable would be like the people that are joining the force,
Oh, okay.
the intention behind why they're joining the force, background, checks, like whether or not these people have a history of violence in their in their life, or whether they've been bullied whenever they were young and they're holding a position of like force and power. And so they have a uniform, they have a bulletproof vest, they have a badge, and they have a gun and a taser, and then also there's on the flip side, because we always have to take a look at the flip
both
side,
sides.
is they have a dangerous job. They're constantly faced with the potential of getting shot, especially in Texas. Everybody has a gun. So
Oh yeah, your gun laws.
yeah, we're very
Yeah.
like lenient with our gun laws, and so the potential of them being killed, not being able to go home to their family,
Very
is
high.
probably traumatizing to their subconscious mind. So kind of it's reactive. Sometimes as a human being, it's reactive. So I think it can be developed and assisted with proper background checks and proper training and the support system to be able to support these officers that are supposed to protect our society, to support them emotionally and mentally, so that way they can properly unpack what they're experiencing, so they don't
And
feel
not take
like,
it out on other people as well.
exactly, yeah,
Okay.
And it's interesting that you mentioned guns, because here in the Philippines, it's so difficult to get a gun, right? It's difficult to get a license.
Especially now with gun ban.
Yeah,
with
especially
approaching
with the elections.
elections.
We have like a gun ban, like months before the elections. I'm curious why the gun culture in the United States is so. Like, why is it like that?
Well, it just depends what state you're in.
Okay.
Just
For example, in Texas, because I
Texas,
know they're
right.
like a very pro-gun culture over there, right?
Right. So it all just comes down to the culture and the place and
Okay.
the way people are. So Texas is like its own country. Like you have to take a look at the history of Texas and how Texas was brought to the United States. It was brought by means of guns, and so at the end of the day,
The Wild Wild West.
it's cowboy culture.
Wild Wild
It's
West.
people that have farms and people that hunt.
Okay, that's interesting. But if we were to follow that analogy here in the Philippines, we were brought our culture, our society
bolo.
by bolos and sundangs and knives, right? So,
Right.
but we don't carry around sundangs here.
You
Ikaw.
should.
Oh, we should. That could be our thing. We could be like Texas pero sundang version. Imagine, that was our case, no?
Yeah.
No, so
I mean, I'm sure there was a time and place where everyone was carrying. Remember, people used to carry swords all the
actually,
time.
yeah. So back in
I
the
don't.
day.
I
But
don't.
I think
mga lolo.
I don't remember that. I don't
I think
remember
your friends would look at you kind of funny. Monto ka sa Ayala, nagbitbit ng polo.
Nagdadag polo. Why not?
Hindi mo na social.
Pocket knife na lang, gamay na lang.
Kung
para
naibong mo
social.
sa among gisgutan ka ng buntaga, we're talking about the differences between Philippine and
Yeah.
American society. You know what? One of my biggest theories, Attorney Jim, Attorney Rocco Steady, is that everything boils down to resources.
Yeah.
Everything boils down to the economy. Like whatever problems that we have, it is actually, for example, feminism. For example, like there's more male than female office CEOs, for example, and all of that
Okay.
stuff. It is everything can be, even racism can be boiled down
To
to
who has the
who has the resources, and everything boils down to the economy, like to the unfair distribution of
Goods and
resources.
services.
Is that sweeping statement flawed, or does it
it
have?
fair?
Is it fair to say that?
That's a good
Yeah,
theory.
it does. It is because societies are controlled by money, right? By resources. And then you have to take a look at things systemically, like from the generations before. Were these specific pockets of individuals and communities, were they provided the opportunities that they're provided today? So it's almost like they're playing catch up with the systemic generational, like naguna sila ba, they had a head start, right? And so it is unfair, and
So it's really about resources.
yeah, it is unfair.
something
It
you
is
can't rule out.
about resources, but I think that by focusing on that unfairness, I think we can just apply that energy towards focusing on where we're at today and how we can develop the future generations.
Kada bang DEI ba?
Sama na.
DEI, what's that? Equity and equality.
Diversity. Diversity, inclusion.
Yeah, DEI.
Yeah, diversity, inclusion,
Equality or something.
So DIE.
I don't know the order of the acronym, but I'm familiar.
I think
with
it's
it.
DEI.
yeah.
Everybody's talking about that. At least you see in the headlines and all of that
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
Because you're talking about people have some certain races, certain people have to play catch up, right? And I think that's why it was in place, and it's actually a kind of a important issue in the previous. United States elections, and I think the
removal of it,
the current president is trying to remove that from society. Unsa mo ginang DEI? Pasabta ko no miyani unsa nang DEI because
Yeah. What's the idea behind
from somebody who's inside from somebody who's in the United States. Unsa mo gina siya? What does that mean?
So diversity, inclusion, and equality were initiatives placed into different sectors of industries in order for them to promote opportunities for people of different races, specifically the disenfranchised communities that have not had those opportunities all along, right? AKA the non-white people, right? So, and women too, women are included into that pocket. So it's to provide initiatives, specific budgets in place in order for people to have those opportunities. It's to promote the message, to promote this, that, and the other. Now, I was the cultural ambassador of multiculturalism and diversity of Houston. I promoted that all across the different festivals. My whole initiative was to invite people to different cultures, and it was also a great platform for me to perform in and promote my music. I mean, performing thousands of people every weekend because of the fact that I was opening myself up to the different cultures and allowing myself to meet with those communities and spread their culture, and as far as the openness to experience those cultures. Now, those initiatives that you're talking about, they were in place for a good thing.
Okay.
It's
The intention behind
it's a great
it's
thing.
great.
However, there may be people that have taken advantage of that as a way for them to make money and a way for them to be able to not do as much and for them to be able to almost like a form of like taking advantage of a situation that is meant to develop something that is supposed to be advantageous for a community and for an industry. But the thing is it's new. So when something is new, it's not developed as much. You don't have specific.
So DEI is relatively new.
It's
relatively
new. Yeah,
new idea.
it's very similar to like the ideology of like affirmative action. Are you familiar with affirmative?
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
affirmative action, like that was meant for good,
Yeah.
right? It was meant to diversify, the college systems, the education systems, opportunities. But then people took advantage of it. And instead of maninguha, like trying your best to do your,
Yeah.
that people were just getting a handout. They were getting scholarships. They were getting into school without trying to like earn their way. I think that there has to be some sort of initiative still. It not just get it because you're of this race or just because systemically you've been disenfranchised and disadvantaged. I think that there still has to be kugihan. There still has to be those core values that everybody has to display. But I do believe that those initiatives have a good rhyme and reason of why they were started.
The intention behind
because
it.
it's supposed to assist and level the playing field. But that should not be an excuse to be lazy. That should not be an excuse to take advantage.
advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Kada bang pahimuslan ba kanang take advantage ba? That's actually a very interesting phenomenon because mura ang mga tao when they look at a law, when they look at a situation,
Instead of thinking about how can I abide to this, most of the time,
how can I be ahead? How can I get ahead?
how can I use this to my advantage?
How can I legally
Kana.
get a leg up? Take advantage of all of that stuff. So that is kind of normal ba?
I think it's normal because
Natural na siya ba nga?
Oh.
Kung you're throwing it into a situation, you're trying to figure out how you can thrive, how can you can succeed, right? So you take advantage of whatever it is that's available to you legally, right?
Yeah.
So
finding loopholes.
because we know that tendency of people, there should always be like a kind of guardrail for taking advantage, right?
Right.
Is that in place? I mean, like, are American lawmakers like ahead of everybody else
ahead of the game,
ahead of the
and they
you know?
do they anticipate that
Yeah.
already?
Uh-huh.
I think it's just human nature, and I think that human nature, it's no matter how many guardrails you put up, it's very similar to a destination that people want to get to. There will be people that will climb those guardrails.
To find a way, yeah.
They'll crawl under.
Yeah.
Or under.
Nag-ingon sila ba nga, the criminal elements, technology will always be a step ahead of the law. It was very obvious. Remember that there was like a Senate hearing and Mark Zuckerberg was there. Was it in Congress, I think?
Yes, yes.
And then, these old congressmen or old senators were asking, like, oh, what the hell are those questions,
Right.
So, murag wahi kay siya ba niya? Here in the Philippines, we're even more behind in many ways as far as crafting laws are concerned when it comes to new technology, new developments in social media and all of that stuff, right? So, ang akong pangutana, I guess, is it really true that the even the United States, their lawmakers are kind of a step behind the innovations and the laws as far as the internet goes and as far as social media goes?
Well, you can't create laws for a situation that you don't know is happening. And so the law is very, very specific. It's elemental. It's based on elements. And if you don't have a nuanced element in there, then the law can be,
Rendered useless.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, let's just say marijuana, right? Like you have marijuana nowadays that's synthetic, right? And some people it's made with specific elements and things placed into it, and so it has to be described. Like what? So the law is very funny. The way they think is like, okay, what is marijuana? Okay, that.
Okay.
What's it made out of?
Define it.
What's
you
it?
define
Yeah.
its
What's it made out of?
ingredients.
The
Okay.
ingredients, and it can have this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient. But the law provides that all those ingredients have to be in place in order for that to be considered illegal marijuana. And the people that are in these industries, they'll change one
So
specific
himuon
thing,
og synthetic.
right? And they'll
Okay.
change one thing, and then the law has to catch up
Yeah.
and add that.
Oh, and say,
And
"Ay,
then
apil ini."
it's bonapod, and then they have to catch up and add that. It's just
So
the law is
always
crit-
playing
should
catch
be
up.
ever changing and should
playing
be
catch up.
adapting also to
Yeah.
the
and
times.
that's a great topic right there. It's like our laws are sometimes archaic,
Yeah.
and
Especially diri sa
so
Philippines, no?
so to be able to
Yeah.
evolve with the times is important.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily have a system where it's a mixture of individuals with different mindsets. Instead, it's more like very similar people creating these laws, and then you're also at the mercy of people that are battling it out. I mean, legislation is always battling it out on what laws to change in order for certain industries to benefit, and there's interest and all that kind of thing. That's why political parties are there. And so to catch up, you always have to catch
Yeah,
up.
that's right.
The law is always
That's what
gonna-
it's there for, supposedly,
Yeah.
one of the purposes. I've got one last question that I've always been curious with. When we're so top of the morning to everyone who's listening to us right now on 105.1 TMC. We're live on Facebook. We're also live. Tops Media Center on YouTube. We have a special guest today, attorney Jim Narvios, aka he's also Rocco Steady. So
Hey.
he's a Houston-based artist, and if you watch our past episodes, he's also been here to promote his music, especially Pag Sinulog, which we'll be playing a lot here at the station on 105.1 TMC. But for today, he's putting on his lawyer hat. We're asking him a bunch of questions. We're comparing Philippine and U.S. society. So I've always been curious. There have been talks over the years na ang sa ato ang system diri, we're not a federalist system, meaning we're all under one central government. Compared to the United States, now you can relatively say nga lahi-lahi ang laws, lahi-lahi ang enforcement
Federal
per
government.
state, no? That hence classic example, like as you mentioned earlier,
Gun
ang
laws,
gun
yeah.
laws, for example, very different in different states, like in California versus in Texas. Ato ang mamatay nga na pareha-pareha ra man gyud ang law, and supposedly ang enforcement of the law throughout Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So a lot of movements throughout the years were articulated na what if the Philippines were to adapt that system ba? So to help our listeners and viewers understand, like, what are the pros and cons that you can probably identify, Uncle, for federalism in the United States? Like, especially as of now, like, I think what I'm asking is not necessarily is it good or bad, because as you mentioned, there's always two sides of the
Yeah.
coin. So what are the good and bad of that? Because I want to see.
There
if
was
it's
actually a
really-
movement here
Yeah.
to convert the Philippines into a
Oh.
federalist
I
society.
heard about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe yeah,
Is it good and bad? What are the good and bad of federalism? Kaya I want to understand good is pwede ba na siya ma-integrate sa ato ang society?
Yeah, because first of all, we have the similar
Yeah, because our constitution, imagine,
right? So
we draft our
so-
constitution from theirs. We do have similar
So
foundations.
yeah, maybe so the good and bad. So what's the good as far as the way the government works in the United States?
Individualism. You know,
Okay.
each state has its own individual style and take on the laws and policies and certain violations that they consider to be violations, different punishments, and so that's individually. I think that allows people to have a conscious choice to make it's like the buffet, right? Or the opening up a menu. You get to choose the state that you're in, but I don't think people really like, honey, we're gonna move to Michigan because of the law. Yeah, I think there's like a small.
I want to smoke weed, so I'm gonna move to this other
California.
state.
Well, some people do that. They're like, I want to go to Colorado, and it's just
or to go to the cost of living or tax in this specific
Right.
state is less. We're
Tax
gonna move
benefits,
I want to
right.
buy a tank, so I'm gonna move to another state, right?
yeah, exactly. And so that is the benefit. I
Okay.
think the benefit is there's a place for everybody, but I just think that they have to like
There's
take
adjustments.
take that into consideration.
Okay.
I don't think people like that. I don't think. I mean, at least I don't know anybody that's.
You don't think it's a common phenomenon for people to be like, because there's that choice for me to move.
That's
to a
actually
different
smart. I
state.
mean, now I'm going to take that into consideration.
Like for example, abortion, right? There are
Right.
some individuals who actually go to another state to get one or whatever,
Exactly.
right? So yeah, so that's the good. How about the bad?
I just think that. I don't know, to be honest. I'd have to like really put some thought into that, but I'm not ready to answer that right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Good.
one of the bad things I'm looking into, because I'm looking into mga debates of abortion ba, and some states that allow it and some states that don't. And for a lot of people who are against the states that do allow it, one of the factors or the things that they see bad about federalism is that the lawmakers in that particular state, sometimes it's the opinions are skewed in such a way
Yes.
that, so for example, there's this one state that bans abortion.
Right.
Pero ang gahimoan nga law in that state, kay the senators or the lawmakers in that state, particularly who approved of that bill, are all male. So then a lot of the people who are against the idea of like federalism saying it's unfair kay ang naghimo man ana nga law in the first place, it doesn't really consider
Right,
like
right.
how could a law
Great
be passed
answer,
about
yeah.
that nga ang
Great
naghimo ana are of have a specific agenda, so it's skewed, it's unfair
It is.
to begin with.
It is.
So I think that's one negative perspective. What
Yes.
can you say about that?
Well,
Uncle?
that just opened up a door for me. I wasn't ready to answer the question a few minutes ago, but you inspired me. You're absolutely right. I think that's one thing that's to take into consideration is that individuality as far as creating laws for that specific state. It can be very skewed, and it can directly be completely contradictory to the
main purpose,
the main
supposedly.
purpose of the actual thing. Like it totally goes against it, and I think that's why that can be a disadvantage. Is that independence in itself and individuality in itself can walk away from the
Yeah.
actual core values of what it was
Exactly.
created for. Yeah.
I can imagine, like in an extreme situation, Jiggy and Uncle, if it was to be applied in the Philippines, for example, Federalista, and we were to say that there are certain laws to be passed in Mindanao, for example, where predominantly or most of the people in that region are Muslims. So imagine if the lawmakers in that specific, if we're gonna do federalism in that specific city, like in Mindanao, and they passed a law that only contributes or benefits Roman Catholics. Kaya ang gahimo sa law kay puro mga Roman Catholics. Diba? It would be contradictory, and a lot of the people of Muslim religion would feel like dili man ni maka-benefit na mo.
Disadvantage,
So
yeah.
unsay purpose aning
Exactly.
federalism? Instead nga naatay kaugalingong voice for our city, it becomes like a disadvantage for them. I feel like that's the only disadvantage of federalism I can come up with.
Right.
as of the
ang,
moment.
ang aking masuyaan sa Amerika ba, American society is really the fact that, especially because you ran for mayor, right?
Mm.
And I think the politics of the United States, masuya jiguan na nila kay maninyo. Kay ang Amerikano manggod, ang Amerika manggod, their society is really, this is just my take, my read on American politics, right? It's really a push and pull between conservatism and liberalism, right? Democrats versus Republican. And I think because of the push and pull, society elects a president, for example, or a senator or a congressman. Usually, ang kanang mga centrists, these are people that win, right? These are people who like thread the needle and have like a more centrist view. So usually, kung makadaog Republican, skewed towards conservatism, right? Kung makadaog ang Democrat, democratic po ang liberal po ang mga principles, right? Sa Philippine society, we don't have that. We don't have a push and pull of conservatism and liberalism. So ang atong butaran diri kutob ra gid sa personalidad nga kani siya gwapo ni
And
siya
I think
or
that's so relevant nga
Oh.
padung na baya
padong
elections pod.
election.
Oo.
Atong society, the society in the Philippines, we vote for somebody who's sikat, kanang ganahan sila. Ano bitaw wala gid siya ingon nga ideological, you know. But is it a correct reading of American society, attorney? It's really a push and pull between liberal and conservative values. And and when
Sure.
is that a correct read?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's polarizing, right? So the polarization is I think that's why I never subscribed to a specific party. I ran as an independent because I believe in both of them. I believe in certain conservative values and I believe in certain liberal values.
Okay.
And it's not fair for me to be able to step into that space, or at least I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to commit to
Picking up.
picking a side because I just wanted to run, And so that is an accurate. I agree with you. I don't
So
know.
it's like that in
I don't
the
know if
United
it's
States.
completely, accurate, but I'm on the same page with you. So I do believe that it's polarized, and I think that that's done once again because it's strategy on the electoral process. Because whenever you create polarizing sides, you now have the opportunity to be able to harness specific groups of people to not vote for you for your personality, for your individuality as far as a person, but they're more so voting for you because of your ability to push their agendas, to push their beliefs, to push for to champion your causes, right? Because they're voting for their beliefs, and as far as here, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there weren't any kind of
There's
We're not big on
there's
those
not.
two
political-
ideologies.
You
ang mga gwapo madaog.
you exactly. You ran for mayor in Houston, right? Tell us about it. What is
for Stafford, Texas.
yeah? What's that?
I ran for Stafford, Texas. It's like a sort of like Sugarland. So there's suburbs.
Okay, so
And that's a city.
So tell
Stafford,
me about
Texas.
that process. You,
Yeah.
a Filipino,
Yes.
running for office in
Stafford,
in
Texas.
Stafford, Texas,
Yeah.
for mayor. Tell me about that. That right to be able to run for mayor doesn't usually happen. You don't see Caucasians running for mayor here
Here.
in the Philippines. Tell me about that, and why does how great is it that you're allowed to be able to do that in the United States?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
it's awesome. In fact, I ran for office the last year that I was in law school. And I ran because I was inspired because we had just did a whole mural. It was in the middle of COVID, and we did this mural called Stafford Stronger, where we invited the whole city, the politicians, the police. It was like a city affair. We designed the mural to inspire and keep people encouraged because people were so depressed and getting so antsy because of COVID. And so after we did that and everybody came, they got on the microphone. They did all the ceremonial traditions that politicians do. But in that process, they all got on the microphone and told me that, one day you're gonna make a great mayor. Maybe you'll be mayor of Stafford. I'm like standing there and I'm just listening to them. I'm like, well, why am I gonna wait? Like
You're right. Thanks for the
like,
inspiration.
thanks for the endorsement. And these
Free
were
endorsement.
and these were all people that were running. So
Yeah.
I sat, talked to my wife. I invited those candidates to my home.
Careful what you wish
Yeah,
for.
I gave them coffee and biscottis, and I was like, I would like to listen to your platforms. They all took turns, shared their
Oh.
platforms, thinking that I was going to be a sponsor or something. But
And
at the
then?
end, I told them, hey, listen, I just wanted to invite you and hear y'all out because I'm going to be running against,
Against
you.
you.
And they were very,
They felt very betrayed.
Wow.
That
Parang
was-
yun
that-
sila gi-trick ba?
and that wasn't it wasn't received
Well?
it wasn't received well.
Uh-oh.
No,
Oh, no.
it wasn't. But at the end of the day, nalinga naman ko. I had
Oh.
fun.
I'm sure you were like, you told everyone.
That's
at the
exactly
event
what I
for
told
me
them.
to run.
Yeah, and
I'm
then-
just doing what you said.
Yeah.
You know the
That's funny.
the perception here in the Philippines is if you don't have money, you can't win. In the United States society, is it also like that?
I mean, you definitely need money to run. You need money to run, or you need resources, or over there it's more so like people that believe in you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my family was so supportive, and
Yeah.
they went out there and put the signs up with me. It was a
Mm.
nice bonding experience with
Okay.
my family.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to have some money, but
Okay.
I didn't have the resources as if I would have run right now. If I would
Okay.
have run right now, it would have been a different situation. But
Maybe
we,
you
we
should.
we made the best out of what we had.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for those that believed in me and contributed to my campaign.
So is the candidate who has the most resources
Always
who-
the winner?
No,
who
no,
wins?
definitely not. No,
Okay.
definitely not. But it increases your chances because the more brand recognition you have, the more your face is out there,
Mm.
the more chances somebody's going to vote,
Mm.
the more spaces you can get into as far as advertising and platforms and this, that, and the other.
You
But-
know,
yeah, but yeah, it's really about.
speaking of resources,
Yeah.
one of the big issues here in the Philippines is vote buying. Is there vote buying in the United States?
I mean, I did not. I never experienced it, but I won't discount it. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if there's a.
Have you heard of anything?
I've
similar?
heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of vote buying. I've
Mhm.
heard of manipulation of ballots and this, that, and the other. But I've never witnessed it in myself to be
Mm.
able to say yes or no.
Okay.
But I'm
Uh,
sure I'm sure there's something going on. I mean, with that kind of stuff on the line, there's always something going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. How because we were talking about guns earlier, and the Comelec gun ban is in force now, and all of that stuff. What's the relationship between guns and elections there? Is there like do you have like a gun ban when there's an election coming up? Is
Especially for a pro-gun state.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be some sort of media creating some sort of conversation, and a gun ban that happens is always going to stimulate the emotions
Exactly.
of people that want the guns,
Mhm.
and so that's going to make somebody want to like vote for the person that's going to support the guns,
Mhm.
right? For example, like,
No,
have you noticed?
Actually, my question
yeah.
is about when you have elections, are guns being banned? That's what I meant.
It's been done before.
Okay, so you have election gun ban.
Well, I mean, the threat of it, right? The threat of it.
Yeah.
I don't think they can actually like ban, in Texas. You
Mm.
know what I mean? It hasn't been done,
Mhm.
not to my knowledge, that guns have been officially banned. But
Mm.
the threat of it, the idea that you could potentially lose your rights as a gun owner is
Mhm.
definitely there. And then you have to take a look at like what's being promoted in the media too, like more violence all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden, all these shootings are being promoted, and mass shootings and school shootings and public shootings, this, that, and the other, and that's what could potentially lead to the fear,
Mm.
because it's fear. It's to be able to push forward fear is going to stimulate votes in some sort of way, shape, or form.
Like we started this conversation, we were talking about how we adopted the American Constitution when we first started as a society, as a democracy, right? And we kind of learn a lot from each other, right? When the United States being our kind of big brother, right? We're the most Americanized nation in Asia as far as society is concerned. So my question, I guess, here, since the United States is a relatively older democracy, an older republic compared to the Philippines, what do you think can we learn from you guys, from the United States, from American society that that we can apply here in the Philippines? Maybe you can pick one or two.
In regards to what?
And just having a better society, like in any department, in any aspect of society. Like
I mean, we have excellent roads. You know, the infrastructure, right? The infrastructure and the resources of our people's tax dollars are going into the
Okay.
infrastructure of cities.
okay,
And we have excellent resources as far as like public improvements. And so I think I mean from what I'm seeing is I think that the Philippines can benefit from that kind of direction as far as utilizing the funding. I don't know how much funding they have, but I would like to see the roads being fixed, and I would
so
like.
you feel like Philippine society needs to improve on the infrastructure part.
Yes, I mean
You
the only.
feel so?
I mean I've been back and forth here in Cebu all my life,
Mhm.
and I don't. I mean Tops is amazing. It's
Mhm.
gorgeous here.
Mhm.
You know, but the roads out there in the city is
Mhm.
the same it's been for the last 20 years. I mean,
Mhm.
the infrastructure I see is that there's condos being built everywhere, and
Mhm.
I would like to see the roads reflect the same type of direction that the condominiums are reflecting,
Mhm.
right? So they're building these gorgeous buildings. You know, I'm seeing like city centers being built that are gorgeous, malls being renovated. I would love to see the rest of the city reflect the same type of
Yeah.
standards. Yeah.
And one of the things that we
The
look
public roads. yeah.
one of the things we look up to as far as the United States is concerned, of course, is good old Hollywood, right?
Mhm.
The entertainment industry in the United States is just unequaled, right? Like it's really like the biggest industry. In fact, I keep on telling everybody this, that the secret of the United States is not their economy. The secret of the United States is Hollywood, right? Because Hollywood changes the way we think
Yeah, the American
about
dream is
the American
very
dream. Everybody's adopting the American dream.
and it's
Everybody's
because of Hollywood.
because of Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So my question here, I guess, is what is it about Hollywood? What is it about American entertainment that we can learn from and adopt here in the Philippines?
Good question. Oh well, I'll take you there. I'll take you somewhere deep. So we have, as of recently, the Hollywood has been exposed for certain unfair practices that they've been exposed. You know, as far as they've been practicing all along, and I think that I don't know if it's already existent here, but I think that accountability within
Okay.
the executives and the people that are in power within Hollywood and within whatever industry is in the entertainment industry, I think that that's a great thing to adapt and learn from,
Okay.
because it's also changing the trajectory as the terrain of the industry is concerned, because certain practices that are harming people that are within the industry are now being brought to the surface, and I think that it's allowing our industry to become a better industry that cultivates more creativity and freedom within the ability to
Yeah.
like
noticed
like
in
sexual
Hollywood-
harassment, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of actor strikes present. We don't have that here.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
unions,
Yeah.
that kind of
Unions,
thing.
Even with the
So
shutting down.
we're not
of-
as organized as they are, in other words, right? Because they can have strikes there, we can't because they're
I mean,
organized.
I remember there's also been a
Right.
movement here.
Mobilize the people. Yeah.
There have been movements man said here in for example like the shutting down of major media companies
Yeah.
like ABS-CBN and the like. But I
Yeah.
don't think it's as what's the word fervent as you mentioned compared to the United States, and maybe it's because of that idea.
Well,
of-
that litigious helps.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
You know, those lawsuits help.
Because I think because you bring a very unique perspective here, you being a local artist, or at least born and raised in Houston, and now you're bringing your art here in Cebu, right? We had a chance to talk to a bunch of rappers and artists in Pavement not too long ago, and then I'm hoping that your being here in Cebu allows us
Yeah.
to learn. From the way you do it back there in the United States, because there's so we're so I feel like we're so behind as far as our entertainment industry is concerned. There's so many things that we don't have yet here in the Philippines, especially here in Cebu. We don't even have an industry to speak of. This is probably like a music scene. You know what I mean? And
That's
back,
why here at TMC
Yeah.
we're very much all for promoting
Yeah.
homegrown
Yeah, that's why I love
talent.
what
Yeah.
y'all are doing. Yeah.
Hey, we're all for
So-
promoting homegrown talent, and we're glad that your new project directly aligns with advocacy.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about the songs that you've come up with while you were here?
Yeah.
So I
mean,
have
the projects that you were working on while you were here?
yeah. So I've been able to shoot about 17 music videos.
17
One
music
seven.
videos.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah. So shout out to all the creatives that I've had the opportunity
Yeah.
to collaborate
Okay.
with. I've learned a lot from them. There's so many creative people here, and so visually, I wanted to. It's a personal project, you know. I wanted to capture memories for myself. You know, I just visited my Lolo and Lola's grave yesterday, and I shot a music video with Mark here, MP Productions. You know, we had an opportunity to shoot at the grave. I did a song called "Why Do We Wait." That's a
nice.
song about, like, you know, not living with regret and that kind of thing. And so it's just a personal project for me to be able to reflect back on and just remember this time that I've been here. And so I wanted to take full opportunity to be able to shoot in places that are
mean a lot to
meaningful,
you.
that are
Okay.
meaningful to me. And so just as you say that, you know, you feel like there's a lot to learn in American culture and entertainment, I think there's a lot to learn here with the Cebuano culture. It's very community based.
Yeah.
Because of the way that it is here, I've had that fortunate opportunity to connect with individuals that maybe I wouldn't have been able to connect as easy over
If you
there.
were there, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
people that have that kind of fan base and that kind of
Yeah.
pull, and people that have that kind of influence within our society here in Cebu. It was accessible for me. And so there's things that we can all learn from each other, and if there's any way, shape, or form that I can contribute, I'm here to contribute. But most definitely, I'm here to support the scene and continue to collaborate, you know, because I think that there's a great future, and I think that the community here is awesome, and they're extremely, extremely talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've inspired me in many ways, you know.
And I'm sure they've been
Yeah.
inspired as well, a lot of the artists who met you. So speaking of Cebuano culture, you have a track here that we're about to play from your unreleased
Yeah,
songs.
but before we play it, you mentioned you were inspired by the
Yes.
people that you met, right?
Yes.
You were supposed to drop when you first dropped here, when you first came here to the studios.
50
You were going to drop 50 songs at one time, right?
Which would have been cool too.
Yeah, which would have been unique.
Yeah.
It would have been so Taylor Swift, because that's what she did.
Is that what she did?
Yeah, that's what she did with that double album, I think. Anyway, and it has inspired you, and now you've decided not to, right?
Yes.
And so you've decided to release an 11 song album or EP,
Right,
whatever
right,
you want to
right,
call it, right? So tell me about this album, this 11 song. Is it called? Would you consider it an EP? I think that's an album, right?
It is an album, yeah.
Tell me about it. What is the album called, and when will it be released, and all of that?
So the first album is going to be released in September.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm going to roll it out.
Okay.
I'm going to actually have a plan. I think that 50 track thing was because nabaguhan ko, but I just
Okay.
made the album.
Yeah, and you
I
haven't
made
made music
I
for
made
such a
50
long
songs
time.
in 3 months, so I was like, let's go. You know, like I was just really excited, and
Which
I,
isn't wrong. But
yeah, and I think that that's why part of the inspiration is to be around people like yourselves and those other artists, because I get a chance to kind of level out and look at it from a business standpoint.
Okay.
Because I'm making music nowadays not necessarily for the business side of things, but more so in a unique business model. It's to also promote my law firm, because I would like for people to get a chance to get to know their lawyer. Who are they
Exactly.
hiring, right? And so with that being said, this first album is called Story of My Life. And so they get an opportunity to hear the vulnerable side of me. The tracks are very personal. And I think that a lot of people that have supported me throughout the last 20 years in my music, they bought my albums, gone to my shows. I think that they deserve that, you know, because at the end of the day, they've supported me. And Nkalit Kawawa, I just disappeared and became a lawyer. And I think I hurt a lot of people during that process, because I should have prefaced it and prepared them, because they've supported me. So they're almost like, what in the world, bro? We've been
happened?
supporting you and you just disappeared on us, because I just did that. And I'm returning back to tell them I'm sorry.
but this is for you.
And now I'm gonna give them this as a gift, because I want them to know why I did what I did.
Okay, we're about to play
Yeah.
a song called "Ride in My Jeepney" from Rocco Steady. What is this? Is this your experience riding a jeepney here in the Philippines? What is this about? Or-
This is gonna be a part of the follow up album called Who That Filipino.
Okay.
So Riding My Jeepney is it's a metaphor to step in my shoes, almost like take a look at things from my perspective. And so I made the song as a way for people to take a look at things from the perspective of me as a child and the way that I thought whenever I would mukapyot man ko sa jeepney sa
Really?
una.
No, really? That's very dangerous, right?
Now it's not allowed na.
I know, it was so much
Bawal na
fun.
rin.
It was like it's like a skateboard, you
Yeah,
know. Like,
yeah.
you know, I was
So
I
many
was
accidents.
I know, and so before I would, I even learned the whole like labago yala yala, like sikita na, sikita na, yeah.
Pwede.
And so I learned all of
Okay.
that, and I really found that to be a lot of fun being a child.
Mm.
And so this song is an ode to that. It's
That experience.
yes, and it's almost like, hey guys, come take a ride with me from my point of view,
Perspective.
my
See it through my lens.
yeah.
Okay.
What is it like to ride the jeepney, and what is it like being a Filipino American in Cebu? Take a look at things from my perspective, and let me share that with you. And I wanted to make something fun,
Yeah.
so it's definitely something that people can dance to and party
perfect.
to. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here it is now. Rocco Steady with a song he was talking about, Ride in My Jeepney. Heard first, if not only, here on 105.1 TMC.
Sikit lang deha.
The best of us.
Cruising through the streets.
Oh, Steady, attorney Jim Narvios, riding my jeepney. And I just got a message from Kuya Magic. He said, we should collaborate with this guy.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Jim or Rocco Steady. You've already met so many artists here in Cebu. Are you collaborating with them? Are you making music
Yeah.
before you leave, or are you gonna do it like long distance and all of that stuff?
Man, just like any relationship, I'm a big believer of developing a good foundation
Okay.
first. Back in the day, Jiggy, like 8 years ago, I would have been like, to the studio, let's go. I would have been very like pushy for the opportunity. But I think it's a beautiful thing to just develop the relationships, because there will always be an opportunity in the future to do something, and when that time arrives, it'll be the perfect song, perfect opportunity. My whole goal right now is just to develop those friendships, let them get a chance to get to know what I'm about, get a chance to get to know what they're about, and at that moment, when the opportunity meets that preparation of that foundation of those relationships, it'll definitely
Be a storm, right?
It'll be it'll be the right thing, and for sure we're all gonna collaborate.
Yeah.
I mean, like the people that I've met, for sure, undoubtedly. But Dylan Koma, I'm not in any rush.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna let them, just get a chance to get to know me, continue to cultivate
Yeah.
those relationships.
Plus, with
right, yeah.
technology now, right?
Oh, you can send
Very much
vocals.
you can,
possible.
yeah, you can easily.
Yeah, send me the vocals.
Yeah,
Even-
we might start a studio together. You never
Why,
know.
why not, man? In fact, Magic and I are about to start a studio, and maybe you can join in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Love to, yeah, love to explore the opportunity.
All
yeah.
right. It is now 12:35. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It was a pleasure to talk to the lawyer Rocco Steady, the other side of Rocco Steady, the attorney Jim Narvios, who practices in Houston. He's down to his last few days here
In
in
Cebu.
in Cebu, right? Which is kind of sad, right? We're kind of sad that you're leaving, Jim. What is your message to the Cebuanos out there listening to us? Maybe you can talk about. Maybe your message should be, maybe perhaps your music message, or maybe
Yeah.
even your
Anything you wanna promote.
your message as a lawyer, I guess, and how to become a more mature, a better
Citizen
Cebu
society.
Cebu society. Maybe you can merge those two hats that you wear and craft one message. I don't know if that's possible.
Right. That's a big endeavor, but I'm happy that first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show again, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's an honor.
Yeah.
I would just tell everybody, man, that life is awesome, and that you shouldn't limit yourself to one specific version of who you are. Continuously take the opportunity to explore yourself, and you never know where God will take you, and it's a beautiful ride. Just be open to it. And remove the things in your life that don't serve you. And words are powerful. Surround yourself with the right people. Intake the right things, the things you read, the things you hear, the things you see, the things you eat. And at the end of the day, life can be a wonderful thing.
I love that. That's such a general. He was able to do it. It's a very general message, and I think that's something that regardless of what profession you're in, it'll apply. Thank you so much for joining
Salamat
us
po.
today, Uncle.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Rocco Steady in 105.1 TMC.
The best of